A devil's latest product where heroes will collide and the hardcore thrive, where technicians high up, masters of the microphone have come to lecture. You are all peasants in my kingdom.
When everything you love is on the line. Between these ropes, we risk it all.
We are Bellingham World Wrestling. Coming soon, only on YouTube. Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Devil's Latest Issue podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Vegas. I'm joined as always by my wonderful co-host, Mr. Fatman T.
Hello.
And we are also joined by our resident furry guest for the time being. It's the one, the only, the blue one himself. It's Echo. I'm being phoned! Fuck! God damn it! Fuck my life! Fuck off! Fucking die in a fire! Literally, you could not have timed that phone call worse. I hope you get hit by a bus, whoever you were.
Probably come out.
I don't know because I've not looked at my phone yet. Son of a bitch!
I don't
It
think
was. It was my mum. Please don't fucking watch this episode, never. Please don't watch this.
That's my point. I saw the show last night.
See if my mum watches this episode. Fuck me, I'm in trouble.
Showed your mouth between you and your mouth at the moment.
For context, the main reason I shouted so loudly about that is because I literally, just before we came on air, put my phone on silent, and I've clearly only put notifications on silent instead of ring and notifications.
Yeah.
That's why I was so mad, because I realized as it started ringing what the fuck I'd done wrong when silencing the phone. That's why I was so mad about that. So sorry to any headphone users who watch this episode. I've just deafened you forever.
Well,
Fucking.
quite some bits of news we have. Oh, not much of it, to be honest. Armed counterterrorism raid unfolds in Rochdale with suspects under arrest.
What was it?
Armed counterterrorism raid unfolds in Rochdale.
I'm gonna pretend I know where that is.
I didn't hear. Give me 2 seconds. Okay, right. What was it? I'll translate for Echo. What was it? I wasn't listening.
Armed terrorism raid
Rochdale.
unfolds in Rochdale.
Right, armed terrorists.
Yeah, I don't know what is it. Did he say Rushdale?
I don't know. I didn't quite catch. So armed terrorists,
No, armed counter-terrorists.
armed counter-terrorists.
Yeah, it was an armed counter-terrorist raid in Rushdale or wherever.
That one.
There's so many fucking words happening. I literally cannot read that. Fucking right. Armed counter-terrorism raid unfolds in Rochdale with suspect under arrest. That's a bitch to read. Jesus Christ, I need a bigger screen.
Going downstairs.
Okay, so the reason I wasn't listening when you first read it is because I was messaging my mum on Facebook to be like, hey, like, I'm live, like, what's up? Mum just sent me a message back saying, "Nothing. I forgot your podcast." This podcast is so popular, my mum forgets we do it.
Yeah, nobody loves
No.
us.
I forget you do it, or you forget what the website is for it.
Okay, I'm so glad that my mother is proud enough of her baby boy to forget the fact he has a show.
Let's be
Like
honest.
really feeling the love there. If no one minds, I'm going to go hang myself now.
Let's be honest, right? Your mum was suspecting everything after the maid incident at the tackle.
Still.
Next one, we've got 14 children arrested after suspicion of manslaughter after boy dies in fire.
Fucking 14.
14 apparently.
14 children.
14 children.
Fucking. Like, I'm no arsonist or nothing, but like, if I was gonna commit a crime, I wouldn't have 13 of my buddies help. If it was like a flat 4, maybe.
Yeah.
6 at a push, I could believe, but fucking 14. 14 children got involved.
4 children arrested. 4 children aged between 11 and 14 have been arrested on suspicion of manslaughter after death of a boy.
Okay.
It took 14 to kill one of them?
Apparently.
Fire broke out close by to Fairfield Industrial Park near Gates. Oh, we need stuff off from me. Shit.
Near Gateshead on Friday. That's what that smoke was I saw a few days ago, right?
The car was feared missing. I know industrial shit as well. That's the bad thing about it.
His name is Leighton.
A British name is what it is.
The source said a body was believed to be Leighton was located inside the building.
"11 boys and 3 girls under arrest."
I thought they were all gonna be dudes. I thought they were all gonna be guys.
Oh no, it's
I'm gonna be honest.
Gateshead. The girls are feral there, so I wouldn't be surprised at that.
Oh, the girls are feral.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not wrong, honestly. Like, they're about as close to Scottish teenagers as you can get without entering Scotland. And even then, the Scottish kids will still win, but that's not the point here. I would love to know the context as to what the fuck occurred with that fire. Of like, why did it take 14 of you to start a fire? And how can it be all 14 of them's fault? You know, how can all 14 of them be blamed? Surely not all 14 of them struck a fucking match.
Oh, no, I've got
surely.
I've got no context here. I can't show it on YouTube because it's the sun and we'll get fucked for that.
Yeah, the Sun are cunts for some reason, but...
He died in a fire, had been reported missing just hours before he was caught in the devastating blaze. 14 children between the ages of 11 and 14 have been arrested on suspicion of manslaughter after Leighton Carr died in the tragic fire in Gateshead on Friday night. Fears had been raised for the missing 14-year-old's well-being after he went missing in the area. In an appeal, cops said the force was growing increasingly concerned about Leighton, who had last been seen at around 7 p.m. that night. The teen, described as 5 foot 6 inches tall, with short brown hair, was tragically found dead inside.
I think they're 5 foot 16
Why does that
inches.
look like my neighbors?
5 foot 6 inches.
Inside the
Why
building.
does that look like one of my neighbors but smaller?
Why's what?
Well, it looks like one of my neighbors but smaller.
No idea.
That's because there's only so many ways a human being can fucking look.
Yeah, God's character
Fair.
selection isn't very good.
Yeah, you know, like human beings only have so many appearance options, you know, hence why they look like human beings. You know, you start taking appearance modifiers too far in a human being and you get a Martian!
Oh, the
Fucking-
Elephant Man.
Dipshit.
Near Fairfield Industrial Park on May the 2nd. Tyne & Wear Fire and Rescue Service had declared a major incident after the fire broke out, urging people to stay away from the area and for locals to keep their windows and doors closed. Flames could be seen engulfing a building's entrance and smoke billowing towards the River Tyne. The major incident was stood down by fire crews shortly before 1:45 a.m. this morning. A police spokesman explained they had found a body believed to be that of 14-year-old Leighton following a search inside the building. His next of kin have been informed and are receiving support from specialist officers. A police spokesman added that inquiries are at an early stage and members of the public are asked not to speculate online or in the community. Detective Chief Inspector Louise Jenkins of Northampton.
You can go fuck yourself.
I guess that's a building there that was on fire.
Looks like it.
Judged by the fire damage.
Yeah.
Looks like the fire started around here and spread that way, so probably died from smoke inhalation rather than actual flames. That would be my guess.
Hang on a fucking second. Hang on. Something's just clicked. Hang on.
What's that?
No, like, statement as to what occurred's been put out.
Yeah.
People are being asked not to speculate out online or in the community.
Yes.
That means the police haven't got a fucking clue what occurred.
No, that means the police have got a clue what occurred, but there's also a massive feeling in the police force that they don't want to tell anyone about it yet.
No, it sounds more like they haven't got a fucking clue. And also, right, like far as I can tell here, 15 people were on the scene. One of them died. So there's only two possibilities here for how to figure out who the other fucking 14 were. Either one of the 14 ratted and has just gotten fucked, or somehow they've managed to recover some DNA from the scene, because I don't see a single fucking security camera. I don't even see evidence of a security camera being possible in the region. Never mind one being there.
You're forgetting the secret third option.
Which
They
is?
don't have a clue and picked 14 random children and went, I will blame them, fuck it.
No, TikTok.
Right. People really do it. No, I can believe that because a lot of people nowadays like to record themselves committing crimes, and I can't for the life of me fathom like why they think that's a good idea.
True, but counterpoint, if the evidence had been posted to TikTok that led the investigation down that road, they would have fucking said so. They would have already said the reason we suspect these children did it is because we found evidence on TikTok of them potentially being involved, or evidence online of them being involved.
The only thing I can think of
Was made.
is the fire was called in by some resident. Police fire turned up and the 14 and the kids were still there watching the blaze go away.
I doubt it.
No, I wouldn't. I've seen it done before.
Nah. Like, I feel like from experience, if you're gonna do a crime and you hear sirens coming, you exit the area. Like,
True.
even if you're like fucking 12, you still know, oh, I've done a crime. There's sirens. Time to skedaddle.
Yeah.
Remember, the person arrested in these crimes is like the person who lit the fire. Not everybody surrounding it.
Exactly. That's why I'm like, fucking 14 of them? Really? Like how are you gonna pin this on 14 different
Maybe they were just really incompetent, and it took 14 of them to actually start the fire.
No, if it's Scare Gateshead, it only takes one half time to start a fire.
Yeah, it's...
Also, like it's close to school you take.
There. Something fucking fishy there.
I mean, I can think of like another one is that basically when he went missing, he dug through his text messages.
Actually, I thought you said we couldn't watch this because it's the sun.
I can't put it on stream.
Oh, okay. Then don't forget to switch YouTube back to stream after this.
Well, I haven't got the stream set up, so it's not running through YouTube. It's our logo for now. Enough with YouTube, audio is fine, but the video content itself is what fucks us.
Okay.
Still, it's... I don't know, that's suspicious. I ain't saying the police are up to funny business, but that doesn't line up to me. That just don't check out. You know what I mean? I'm gonna have to press X to doubt there, officers. Then I have to press X to doubt.
Project for the young lad who have died in the fire. Bad enough, but the death was at the hands of other kids in his age group.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
We don't know if they were. We don't even know if the kids were in his fucking peer group or not.
How do you know?
Yeah.
How do you know how they killed him? Give us details, please. They use the word "if." You really read things before replying to them. It makes you look well. They've been arrested, so there's no if about it at this point in time. Really, the police suspect they committed murder. So
Exactly. Like
Yeah.
if the kids have been arrested, the police have a fucking good reason to think it, and I'd like to know what that reason is. Thank you.
Speaking of people being arrested, have you guys know about the Carmelo Anthony case here in America, right?
No. I mean,
Oh,
probably
I was gonna-
not my name.
if you killed him, you should be ashamed. If you killed him, you should be ashamed. Intentional right. What's that? International right. Are you true with that?
I'm gonna need you to like fucking put your mouse over said comment so I know which one to like fucking lean in towards. That one, right? Intentional. Can you like get rid of the blue, please? It's making that literally impossible. Thank you. Intentional. Something.
Right, intentional, right? Or are you truly that emojis?
Are you? Is it? I literally can't read that. Discord is a piece of shit, dude. Holy god.
Yeah.
Intentional right. Are you truly that? Laughing crying emoji.
Fuck it. Control C and Control V into the Discord. Like copy paste the fucking message so like and put it in the Discord so I can read it. I don't care about the emojis that much.
Or just like screen snip it. Just screen snip this like the entire like all these.
In general.
Intentional right, or are you truly that? I'm going to assume the context of the emojis is the word funny? Maybe stupid? One of the two?
Uh,
The perfect kid implies in, are you drunk? Then perfect kid, put down the door pipe, ma'am. Followed by, are you English or is this your second language?
English is your second language.
I don't know why they're like bullying them that hard. Like now that I've actually been able to read what they asked, like no, I understand the question. They're asking like, is the statement that the fire was intentional? Which like I think they're on the same team as me. Of they're saying, was the fire intentional? In which case, what the fuck? That doesn't check out. Or someone's being a funny fucker here, which also doesn't check out.
Oh, he's a good one. What in the name of God has gone wrong with the world? Right, reply to this one. We're living the last days of lawlessness. Will increase until the Messiah returns.
Oh, fuck off.
Next one, that immigration.
Oh, double.
Immigration. Immigration.
Get a job. Next one.
Socialism.
Echo, don't laugh at the immigration guy. He's a fuckhead.
Next one. Socialism. Under the next one.
5 to 1. Nah, I tell you what, 5 to 1 odds says the guy that just blamed socialism's on universal credit. 5 to 1. If I had a house, I'd bet a fucking mortgage that guy claims uni credit. All day fucking every day.
Oh, his name is Brian Parkin. 3282. So I'm guessing he's around 40.
Yeah, cunt's probably on fucking benefits then.
Then the next one, reply one. Would that have to come about during the Second World War? Or even maybe during the First World War? Just a thought. This is in response to the guy's first comment of within the last days of lawlessness till the Messiah returns.
That guy's fucking... Jesus Christ. I mean, they're sun readers. I'm not surprised they're brain damaged, but still.
Next one, that one was when was right.
For context, like Echo, because you're American and any American viewers we have, the Sun newspaper is to British media what Fox News would be if everyone on Fox News had taken a blunt force trauma to the head recently. Like, if you took, like, all of the hosts of Fox News and you gave them blunt force trauma to the fucking head, and then put them live on air, that's what the Sun is. Only its logo is shitter.
I'm going to copy this one for you, Charles.
Okay, copy paste that one for who?
For you to read, because Oh, for
There's
Vegas.
more to it.
Yeah.
There's more to it than what you just copied. There's more to it than what you just
I'm
copied.
not getting the second part of it because that's the second post.
Okay, 1960s in the UK, estimating conservatively, children under 18 might have been responsible for 15 to 30 homicides per year in England and Wales, with perhaps 2 to 5 in Scotland. You've got that wrong. And 1 to 2 in Northern Ireland. Again, you've got that wrong given your time frame, dickhead. Totaling roughly 20 to 40. Yeah, by your math, but your math is wrong. UK-wide annually, younger children under 14 would represent an even smaller subset, likely fewer than 5 to 10 cases per year. Again, you're fucking wrong, but hey-ho.
This is the second
Again,
comment.
especially in 1960s time frame, but hey-ho. Over the last 10 years, an estimated 300 to 800 homicides in UK were committed by children under 18, with 50 to 100 by those under 14. Based on a 5 to 10% juvenile perpetrator rate and an annual homicide totals of 600 to 800. These figures are rough due to limited data, with the Home Office Homicide Index not publicly detailing juvenile perpetrators. For precise numbers, you'd need access to unpublished Home Office records or court data. Okay, A, there's no such thing as unpublished court records or court data, sorry. And B, the Home Office does fucking report the data for any homicide that is perpetrated by a young person. They just don't give out the personal details of said offender because they're under the age of 18. So clearly, Dickhead doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
This is the same guy I was arguing with the other guy at the first comment thread.
Mm-hmm.
Vendetta Rising, I think it is. His name?
I don't know. I can't read it.
Yep, that was close to there for you. I missed the G off, never mind.
Yeah, Vendetta Rising.
I'll be right back.
Wait, hang on. Wait a minute.
What?
Wait a motherfucking minute.
Okay, I'm waiting.
Hang on. Nah, I gotta check something now. This motherfucker has piqued my interest.
I guarantee he's got a profile with white folks.
That's what I'm thinking. Is this a shitposting son of a bitch?
I don't know.
No, fuck off. I'm pulling up his profile in the background. I know what I'm looking for.
A schoolboy who
Hold on. You, ha 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 ha. What the? Right, when did you make this? Oh, yeah, no, I understand now. He's a teenager, right?
Yeah.
That's why he's wrong.
Yeah, but he also going this one with comments he made. This was one comments he made. He's been in Southeast Asia for 5 years. You can't be that much for a teenager.
Yeah, based on like what I'm seeing in the profile and his usernames, he's about 16. If that.
What are we on about?
Add on as well the shit he's spewing in the fucking comments with the confident incorrectness around number, around time frames, specifically the 1960s. I can guarantee you that's about 16 and is probably at university studying something ridiculous and worthless like criminology.
I thought criminology was cool.
It's cool, but it's fucking worthless unless you plan on working for the FBI.
Yeah,
and even then, there's better fucking courses to get you into the FBI than criminology.
I mean, yeah, criminology is basically it's something you do as a side gig to like doing forensic science or forensic psychology.
Yes, and even then, there's better shit.
Or it's police
Like-
use as a blow course for the degree they need to get
Yeah.
rank of captain or something.
Like people at home, if you do want to join, say like the FBI or the Met Office, MI5, anything like that, rather than studying criminology, study political science.
That's science.
How does that help?
Political science is considered infinitely more fucking valuable in both police work as well as investigative work, and especially with higher ranked government enforcement agencies like the FBI, MI5, and the Met, because you work so closely with political officials
Yeah.
when you're doing work with those job
Oh.
roles. It's considered
Weird.
far more valuable by those agencies to know how fucking politics works, because you're going to be working very closely with them and having to deal with politics quite a lot, than it is to actually understand why people commit crime. Because it's not your job to care why people commit crime. It's your job to know how to protect your fucking politicians.
Once you get above like the like detective level, everything's about politics rather than it's about actually doing your job.
Yes.
Or the optics of this case, to the general public, or to how we handle this case going to view to the general public.
Exactly. Which is far more easy to understand when you study political science than it is criminology, or God help you if you made the mistake of doing sociology.
Yeah.
If you picked sociology, oh baby, you ain't getting past desk sergeant.
Yeah, sociology again, I've always agreed. It's basically some of those things is, you turn up, you spend $100,000 for a library card.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, you can learn some really interesting shit in sociology. But it is not something you can build a career around unless your career plan is to teach sociology. It is pretty much the only thing it's fucking valuable for.
I tell you what a good one actually is, other than course-wise, right, is sociology and urban planning.
Yes, those two in combination. Fuck me, you can get somewhere in life, but
That's a really interesting degree marker, and just have quite a lot of bearing in a lot of places.
oh yeah. Yeah, especially in like the government sector, specifically if you're looking to get into like the zone planning departments.
Zone planning in for like
Did you
big
just have
companies
a
for like
stroke
real
there,
estate and all that
Scotty?
stuff.
What was that, Echo?
So did you just have a stroke there, Scotty?
Ever so gently, it's because I'd taken a drink just before, so my brain just my tongue got confuzzled. My body tried to talk like there was still water in my mouth, even though there wasn't, so things got a little scuffed.
Now, any moist degree you can get your hands on, that'll guarantee you not getting a job, is gender studies.
Yeah, that's what I was actually going to say. Yeah, I was about to say that gender studies. Yeah,
Actually, no, there are some career paths that do value gender studies.
Not
like
many.
what?
Oh, would you like some key examples? Marketing and political campaign running are two very well-paying career paths that actually have value when it comes to having a gender studies degree.
Now we go, yeah. You fuck off then.
Both have had value in that degree for the best part of 70 years.
You bastard. Tell you what, one degree that still company exists, right?
I can probably explain why it exists and give you a reason for why you can
Okay, then.
gain value from it.
Right, the research of Disney and the impact of Mickey Mouse on the world.
Okay, I can give you a justification and b a career path that would actually value that.
Go ahead.
And you're not gonna like the answer.
Probably not.
If you study how Walt Disney built the Disney Corporation and the effect it's had on pop culture media, it gives you a really good insight into how psyops and what are they called now? Propaganda pieces can work to influence media and influence the population into a certain belief factor.
Are you saying Mickey Mouse was a psyop?
Yes.
Theoretically, Mickey Mouse is a psyop, yes. Because of the effect the Disney Corporation had specifically on the American people when it came to their view towards fairy tales at the time, before the Disney Corporation kind of made it big, most of your quote unquote fairy tales in the Americas were things like Penny Dreadful novels and things where it was much like early European fairy tales where they were much darker stories that were made for a child audience, but were not fucking child friendly whatsoever.
I mean, prime example
What-
is
Yeah.
Disney came along and adapted them to actually be family friendly and made a small fucking fortune and shifted the entire nation and to a degree the entire world's view towards what a fairy tale that's family friendly should be. By studying that, you can understand precisely how to build propaganda as well as how to build a psyop that will do precisely that of sway the public opinion on a matter. By studying this, you get a really good foothold in jobs such as propaganda creation, anti-propaganda. I can't remember the rest of the name for the fucking career, but I think it's anti-propaganda sabotageation or something along those lines. Someone can quote me later and correct me. So your main your main companies, sorry, that would value this work would be you'd be best in a marketing sector or public relations if you want to go private. If you want to go into the public sector, your best bets would be with MI5, CIA, or the IDF.
I mean, an idea. I mean, for like how Disney whitewashed like fairy tales. Echo, do you know the true story of?
Yes, they whitewashed the fairy tales that had white people in them.
No, I mean whitewashed as in like throwing the fucker down, not like just whitewash like white people in it.
Yeah, that's not the definition of whitewashing. You mean soft washing, but A for effort.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, when I grew up, that was called whitewashing. Okay, yes, I know things have changed because of.
Yeah, it's
We should
soft
put the
washing
stuff-
or wishy-washying.
We called it whitewashing back then, where you change the context of something to make it softer and more easy to palatable.
Yeah, that's
I
wishy.
thought whitewashing was just when you put a white person in the story.
Not back when I grew up.
Whitewashing is where you take traditionally it's a piece of media or a story from a different culture and make it fit your own culture more appropriately by changing the races and characteristics of characters in the story to make it fit to a different culture. Whitewashing doesn't.
So what they tried to do with the Snow White movie.
Yes, actually, that's kind of a good example of it. As a whitewashing doesn't necessarily refer to changing, say, like an Asian character to a white character. It's just changing the race and characteristics of a character or a group of characters in a story to better fit a different culture.
Basically, people might point out that trying to make soft washing is like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs,
Yes.
right? In the Echo, do you know what the original on the Brothers Skills Tim happened to Snow White when she met the Seven Dwarfs?
Didn't she get fucked?
She was gang raped to infinity and beyond.
Yeah. That's what. Yeah, I kind of figured.
Yeah, I can't see a single reason why you may want to like change the context of the story there to make it more appropriate to children. Like as we all know, gang rape is the most family friendly topic on planet Earth.
Yeah, it's one of those. I'm not saying there's wrong to do it.
You know, it's not like
Yeah,
you can look at like the crime rates before and after Disney made their first rendition of Snow White and see a definitive decline over a 30-year period of diagnosed sociopathy and psychopathy in young adults or anything. It's not like that's a hard fact
Right.
that you can.
Vegas, do me a favor.
occurring.
Stop making it sound like I agree with gang rape, please.
I'm not saying you're agreeing with gang rape. Like what I'm doing is I'm making you seem silly by saying that.
Yeah, don't, because I never at one point said.
How dare you softy washy it? You know, like
No, I never once said that was a good thing they left in. I'm just saying it was a
Yeah.
fucking ow.
example of how they did it.
Still.
So please
Right.
don't try that way with me right now.
The tone you tried to take with the topic was like, oh, how dare they? And it's like, no, not how dare they. It was a good choice.
No, I said an example of, not how dare they.
I didn't say you'd said. I said the tone with which you said you're
And my
saying.
tone was not anywhere near that either.
It was a tone of annoyance.
Ladies, you're both ugly.
Shut up, fairy.
Yeah, and you're a gay dog fucker. Piss off.
It wants to away from Barney the dinosaur.
Yeah, go touch yourself, your fucking fantasy werewolf, you fucking freak. So that factoid I just threw out about the decline rate when diagnosed sociopathy and psychopathy in young adults during that 30-year period, just after the release of the original Snow White, is one of the very valuable things you can learn by studying the impact of Disney on culture.
Oh, interesting.
It's like things like that like you mainly study when you do that particular course is weird little things that happened in society when Disney kind of had its big explosion of popularity, and the benefits and in many cases the consequences of Walt Disney's straight out propaganda. Because never ever forget that Disney made most of its money in the early days by making propaganda for the US military. Yeah. The Disney Corporation literally made several $1 million during World War II, and I don't mean in today's money, by making propaganda for the US Army.
They did also say Walt Disney was a massive racist.
Correct.
And so was Gerald Ford at the same time.
You know, that's why you'll notice that there were no movies made about non-white cultures until after Walt Disney fucking died. With that one exception, but that one exception was kind of turbo racist.
Wait, which was that?
Are you really asking me which Disney movie was kind of turbo racist?
Yes, because I can't remember. I can't remember off the top of my head. Oh, Pocahontas.
No. There was one
No.
long before Pocahontas that was much more racist.
Which what? I don't know if I'm familiar with it. What is it?
It's a little known movie called Song of the Fucking South.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
Oh, you're lucky. You are so lucky. It's a movie
What
about it's a movie about a slave plantation. It's as wrong as it sounds. Because there are many scenes throughout the movie where you have slaves singing about how great it is to be a slave on a plantation. I'll let you into a little secret. It wasn't that great being a slave on a slave plantation. The movie really wants you to think it was.
Yeah, how lucky they were to be saved by the white guy and
Yeah.
given jobs, culture, and Christianity.
I know what movie I'm gonna go show a bunch of rednecks now. I'll be back.
It is damn near impossible to get your hands on that movie today.
Damn it.
It's in the
It's
vault
doable,
somewhere.
but it's a challenge.
Yeah, another one people said was racist was Fantasia.
See,
Huh?
Fantasia
What was
wasn't so much,
Fantasia again?
Fantasia wasn't so much racist. Fantasia was just offensive in the sense of it was shit.
Wait,
It was
what
very
is
shit.
Fantasia? Fantasia, I don't.
Fantasia was essentially a exercise in how well designed as an exercise in how well the artists were draw at the animation when it first came out.
Fantasia's the one with no fucking plot that's somehow a musical and somehow worse than that sounds.
Yes.
Oh.
Now the way the racists come into it is the sweeping brushes.
Yes.
They classify them as black slaves or black people. That's why they keep multiplying. They try to destroy them all.
Yeah, those people are fucking idiots that clearly don't understand anything about media study, but hey ho to them.
It was done in like a feminist journal back.
Oh god, not the
2015,
feminist.
That one came out as a study on it.
Again, yeah, it was a quote unquote study done by people that don't know how to study media. Yeah, great. And before anyone tries, no, the reason they can't study media isn't because they're women, it's because they wasted their time getting a sociology degree and or a gender studies degree instead of a media studies degree.
Yeah.
Having someone with a sociology degree do media study would be like having someone that's got a degree in doing fucking fry cooking do forensic biology. They ain't gonna get the right fucking answer.
I can't remember that woman's name, but her favorite quote was, and she was gender studies. Who tried to study media. Her favorite quote was, "Everything's sexist, everything's racist, and it's your job to point it all out."
So close. Just so close to correct.
Because she went on a massive campaign. Again, I think it was back before COVID, so about 2018, 2019, about how video games were inherently sexist because how have people. Honest truth was how people sat down in video games.
Is that the same chick that went after? Actually, it was either 2016 Doom or Doom Eternal and called it sexist.
Probably.
Probably. I mean, when I remember it was over Destiny, where the male character sat squat down with the knees up and their arms up to the knees, where the women sat down in a more demure manner. And
I mean,
yeah, okay.
huh?
That one I can kind of see the point, but also it's a fucking stupid point.
yeah, doing like a five video series on that.
5 video. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, 20 minutes long piece.
Yeah, it's a feminist echo.
Hmm.
How surprised they turned something so non-important into 5 fucking videos. It's
Fair enough. Fair enough. Why would we give them rights again?
because one of them threw himself in front of a horse and we felt bad. Oh, you're laughing because you think I'm kidding. No,
No, he's not.
no, that's literally the catalyst event that caused the suffragettes to win.
Wait, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. One of the last moves by the suffragette movement that basically led to them winning the vote was literally a woman committing suicide on a horse racetrack by throwing herself in
It
front of
was
a
the
horse.
Grand National, I think.
It was, yes.
Nah. Woman moment.
It was neither the first nor the last civilian death at a Grand National.
Oh, like the horse death. The horse got killed as well because it broke its leg.
Yes, it broke 2 of its legs, actually. Its front left and its back right. Don't ask why I remember that. We don't have time to explain.
Stupid woman ruined it for a horse's good race.
Yeah.
But anyway, moving on. Now, I saw a video the other day on whether or not it fits with today's date, the May the 4th.
Did you remember the full YouTube back up for the stream?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Would the Star Wars Empire win a war against the Imperial Man from 40k?
Okay, which empire?
No.
No, shut up. Which empire?
The one they picked was basically prior to the New Hope.
Okay, so you want the Galactic Empire?
Yeah, that Empire at the height of its power before New Hope technically took place. That's including
That
a
was-
fully.
That wasn't the height of the Empire's power, but okay.
It's including a
No,
fully functioning working Death Star as well in the forces.
No, the Death Star doesn't hold a candle to anything, to like half of the exterminata shit that the Imperium can field.
Echo. The Imperium Man requires an entire fleet to destroy a planet. The Death Star presses 4 buttons and the planet goes bye-bye. What's more powerful? 1 vessel or fucking 30 vessels?
You know, from what I learned, I don't think they need like an entire fleet. I believe like it's just one ship like out of that entire fleet that carries the
No,
Right.
no.
In theoretical,
It's a full battle squadron of ships, which makes up a fleet of 30 ships in order to take down a planet in the Imperium
Right.
of Man.
it depends on
The
the
Death Star is 1.
It depends on the ship you're about. If you're about a full chapter battle barge from like one of the Astartes, that
Yeah.
does have enough firepower to glass a planet by itself.
Yes, it can glass it, but it can't outright destroy it.
Right?
To fully destroy the planet in the same manner that the Death Star can, you would require 30 of those ships.
Depends on the view I used while I was watching.
I think the Imperium would come out on top
'Cause if-
against the Empire.
in space combat and assuming we go the method of both factions have the ability to destroy planets, so we're not going to bother with ground combat. We're only going to do space combat and planet busting. The Empire wins that hands down. If we have a full scale war where we do both space combat as well as landside combat as well as a bit of planet busting, then it's a solid 50-50 where I would give more lean towards the Warhammer universe.
Here we go. This is the video I was watching.
Well, you beautiful.
I don't have time for this point. She breaks down what
Sci-fi fight enthusiast and more. Not even on your best day. I am definitely more familiar with 40k. Bantha fodder out of my sweaty, unwashed ass crack. Of fleet strengths, because I'm gonna focus what's mainly gleaned from canon sources because it's what. Well, feel free to slurp rancid.
I'll put the video up on the stream. Let's capture that one. This is like from 3 months ago, and it's from a tanker's view, I think it is. Yes.
It's he's already confirmed he has more familiarity towards the Warhammer universe. So
Yeah.
if this video comes out with the answer being Warhammer, I'm gonna call bullshit.
Well, yeah, he does.
Like he's already admitted to having a bias. Therefore,
Well, he does say Warhammer wins, but he doesn't outright give Warhammer the victory. Like he expects Obi-Wan Warhammer to have.
Ground combat, and I actually think ship combat, the Imperium would. I know in ground combat, Imperium would wipe the floor with the Empire.
it would depend on the environment and like what planet we're fighting on. Like that's why I'd say a solid 50-50 across the board, but I'd give leaning towards the Imperium as an overall war.
Fair, but the Empire doesn't really. Their basic troops don't really field anything that can get through a Astartes armor.
Well, that thing up.
Hold on, but before you do, Echo, one key point. A majority of the Astartes don't wear fucking helmets. One laser beam to the fucking skull, job done.
That requires stormtroopers to hit their target.
Right,
Which stormtroopers are actually capable of doing. You only see them missing in the movies because the main characters that are being shot at either have the Force or are next to someone that has the Force.
Right, hang on. I'm going to give some caveats here to Star Wars here. In the idea of like stormtroopers can't have broadside of a barn, right? It is revealed in some like comics and back canon that Vader gives the order to allow them to escape.
Yes, there is that. That's also confirmed in the movies. But again, even during battles where they did not have that order, majority of the characters being shot at either have the Force, whether they know it or not, or are next to someone who does have the Force.
And also,
the Force and subconsciously can affect bullets coming in towards them. That's why in the Clone Wars, Jedi seem to be damn near unfucking shootable.
Also, I'll put a caveat as well is even with like our modern military as a basis, right? In a full-scale conflict between soldiers, right? Most soldiers won't get any confirmed kills or even kills at general.
Correct.
And that only ones to get ideas like long, like pointless confirmed kills are basically snipers or marksmen.
Yes, because they're able to actually watch the shot go through.
So, as a caveat that, I can't say that the stormtroopers have bad aim. Or no, I'm assuming they have the aim that Obi-Wan says to do in the New Hope.
Yes,
bombs, that type of stuff.
Point.
Was that Echo?
I was gonna say it's only really like the main characters you see that don't wear their helmets when it comes to Astartes. Most of the time, you'll see like your typical Astartes wearing a helmet.
That will too. There's only a handful of them that don't technically wear helmets, such as Gulliver and that type of stuff. But again,
as it's just Space Marines, I would grant you that. Astartes, there's been maybe 2 Astartes in canon that have worn a helmet.
Well, Astartes is the internal law for a Space Marine.
No, an Astartes is a higher rank of Space Marine. That's like saying that all Space Marines are Blood Angels. Like they're technically
no. Space Marines are Adeptus Astartes. That is the blanket term for all Space Marines.
Yeah. Space Marines are generally referred to Ultramarines only in general terms in context of law.
Adeptus Astartes in the canon is a term and a rank given to higher ranked members of the Space Marine Order. The reason why... Yes.
That's Primarch.
No. Primarch is even higher than Adeptus Astartes. Allow me to finish. The reason people believe that Adeptus Astartes is given to all members of the Space Marines is because of the Imperial Guard, who don't understand that ranking system within the Space Marines, who call all of them members of the Astartes, for they believe that they are all the Astartes.
I literally have the law book at hand. I can look it up.
Go for it.
Actually, no, it's upstairs by you, actually.
Also,
why is it upstairs?
It was in the... I think it's in the cupboard. On top of some of my Space Marine stuff.
Okay, that makes sense. Isn't half your Space Marine shit in the kitchen? It might be up there, actually.
Half of the kitchen, but I think that particular book, which gives the codex for the Imperial Man, is up there.
Valid. I would go check, but I can't be fucked.
I'm going to go check it out when you run to the loo. So I'm going to play this video while I run to the loo to give a breakdown. What are you doing? Because it covers the Star Wars
Hang on,
first.
Hang on, what year is the book from, actually? Hang on.
My book is 4 years old.
Okay, it might have it then, because I can't remember when exactly the lore I read was out from.
So I've got the original rule book and law book down here for the general overview, but the actual Imperial law book is upstairs. I'm sure of it.
But the lore, I'll say lore book. The lore book I read quotings from because I was trying to research a specific thing. It was either from 2019 or 2023, one of the two. So it might have it, it might not have it. It's a 50-50.
I'm going to play this and back in a second. Oh, wrong button.
Fucking ow.
Said bantha fodder out of my sweaty, unwashed ass crack.
Brother, ugh.
After leaving you with that stunning visual, I'm going to focus what's mainly gleaned from canon sources because it's what we can see, visualize, and therefore predict and identify what's going on, with the exception of fleet strengths, because nowhere in canon is fleet-sized mentioned in Star Wars, or really in much of 40k either. With 40k, I had to do a lot of math to try and calculate their fleet with any reasonable degree of accuracy.
Come on. Do math.
Because, well, 40k lore, like Star Wars lore, is incredibly inconsistent and there's no defined canonical number. But I'm going to break that math down for you when I lay out the battles. So, as per usual, let's get a brief description of our major players, the rules I'm going to lay out, and then we'll just get straight into that fight. Like my previous video, there's going to be two scenarios in this situation. 40k's M31 and M41. The height of the Great Crusade sans Erebus as per usual, and at the height of oh my fucking god, what's happening everywhere. Ancillary opponents will not be on the table, so no orcs, no chaos, no Eldar, Nids, resistance, rebels, Hutts, Mandos. It can be a straight brawl right between these two empires, completely focused on each other. The contenders can access all of the resources from their own galaxies because, well, I'm gonna smash them into each other like a naughty child.
Wow.
And our first contender is the Galactic Empire, which will be portrayed at its height just prior to the Battle of Yavin. Full fleet, 1 Death Star, and the few Executor-class ships that it built. Often referred to simply as the Empire, it's a central autocratic government in the Star Wars universe. Established by Supreme Chancellor Palpatine, a shriveled nutsack of a psyker, secretly the Sith Lord Darth Sidious, the dumbest edgelord name he could come up with. At the conclusion of the Clone Wars, the Empire replaced the Galactic Republic, marking a significant shift from the democratic system to an authoritarian regime, and stole most of its shit from the Republic to get started. Palpatine's rise to power was marked by political manipulation and the orchestration of the Clone Wars, which he used to justify consolidating power. By portraying the Jedi Order as traitors, he garnered the public's support for their eradication, including the younglings. In 19 BBY, Palpatine declared himself Emperor. Fucking heretic. He transformed the Republic into the Galactic Empire with promises of security and stability. The Emperor's ideology centered on humanocentrism, militarization. Hey, wait a minute, this doesn't sound so bad. And the suppression of dissent, aiming to maintain order through fear and overwhelming force. Ah, there it is, the horrible. Oddly enough, that empire lasted just slightly longer than its real-world model and was about as useful. Friendship windmills all around. As Emperor, Palpatine held absolute authority, supported by high-ranking officials including these two mental midgets, who will pop up in our battles, so take note. We have Darth Vader, Sith Lord and Enforcer of the Emperor's will, also a whiny drama queen with the emotional depth of a puddle, also probably pretty bitter that his best friend cut his balls, legs, and arm off.
Hello there.
Grand Moff Wilhuff Tarkin, overseer of Oversector Outer and proponent of the Tarkin Doctrine.
No, fucking...
Gee, no ego there. Which advocated ruling through fear to maintain control and the building of stupid Wunderwaffe instead of an efficient and competent military force. He definitely didn't have the right stuff and rightly gets BTFO'd in the first episode. These mental midgets somehow managed to steal an entire galactic republic in a comically short period of time, then proceeded to manipulate it.
Right.
Oh boy, here we go.
I'm glad you're back, because fucking Christ, I've never heard such tripe in my life. Fucking people at home with exceptionally good hearing, every time you heard me say, he said something that was just fucking wrong or stupid. So first, I'm gonna go back to probably my biggest gripe here. His rules around how this experiment's going to work are contradictory and stupid.
Right.
Because he says that we're going to get rid of all the auxiliary fighters, right? All the auxiliary factions, right? It's going to be a straight 1-to-1 brawl, okay?
I don't see how that's stupid. That seems like...
Wait for it. Rule number 2. Both factions are allowed access to all the resources disposable within their galaxy. Okay, so how the fuck can you do that if they don't have access to the auxiliary factions? You fucking dunderhead.
What are you about?
Especially in the Star Wars canon, where 38.9% of the galaxy's resources are controlled by the Hutt Cartel, and the other 62% are controlled by private fucking companies. So how the fuck can the Empire have access to the galaxy's resources if the other factions are not accessible? You fucking idiot. Kindly think before you make your rules. You fucking dunderhead. My next very large gripe. How in the name of God is 8 years, by any stretch of the imagination, a fucking comically short length of time to topple an empire? In fact, fuck, let's go to the actual real number. How in the name of God is 23 years a comically short length of time to topple a government?
That thing he's referring to the point of, like, New Hope to Return of the Jedi.
No, he's referring to, specifically, I believe, referring to episodes 1 through 3, as well as the Clone Wars, which was 8 years. Unless you want to count the gap in between episodes 1 and 2, in which case we can bump that son of a bitch right up to 19. Unless we want to go far enough back that we count the gap before episode 1, where Palpatine was doing his groundwork alongside Darth Plagueis to actually gain any political power to begin his takeover, in which case we can bump that estimate up to 23 years. Yeah. So how is 23 years to go from basically fucking nobody to damn near Emperor comically short? I'll tell you how. By not actually doing your fucking research. That's how.
My biggest gripe who does this, you're on about Tarkin?
Yes, I was going to say Governor Tarkin.
Yeah, by all accounts,
Grand Moff Tarkin.
He was classified as a military genius.
Yes.
Pretty much it's an accident, I think, really.
Yes, classified as a military genius. The sole reason that the Outer Rim and most of the Inner Rim were actually kept in line during the Empire's reign and didn't just instantly fucking rebel was almost solely responsible for half of the destruction of the Hutt Cartel. The other half of that destruction was caused by a little-known Admiral Thrall, who is lovely. You know, like, as for his critiques towards the fleet building, Grand Moff Tarkin is the only reason the Imperial fleet was even fucking close to sensible, and all of the failings of said fleet were not his fault. They were the fault of the fucking fleet designers, as well as the shipbuilders of the Empire. Also, on this topic as well, regarding the statement of the Empire only found, like, basically had to steal the Republic's resources in order to find itself. Given the Empire was the direct descendant of the Republic because the Republic became the Empire, it's not stealing, it is in fact what you describe as inheritance of resources. So we've already proved a whole, fucking 3 minutes into this idea that this dunderhead doesn't understand anything about Star Wars lore, doesn't understand basic political science, doesn't understand basic military logistics. So at least we with a single question, it's why the fuck should I listen to a single piece of the guy's opinion? Anyone? Anyone got an answer? Anyone at all?
I'm just reading some quickly.
I would enjoy an answer as to why this dunderhead should be taken fucking seriously. This children is why we should look shit up before we say shit. You know, this is why we should maybe make sure we understand the concepts we want to talk about before we try and talk about them.
Right. Just answer your question, by the way, about Adeptus Astartes.
Did you almost call it Adeptus Retardus?
I almost did, yes.
Yes.
Right.
In fairness, some of them were.
In the law of the Adeptus Astartes, right? Prior to the Horus Heresy,
Yes.
they were officially known as Space Marines. The Adeptus Astartes were the replacement after the Horus Heresy, where all Space Marines fell under the Astartes brand. So yes, Astartes refers to all Space Marines.
Ah. Very well. I rescind the point and accept defeat.
Suck it.
The lore I was researching must have been referring to pre-Horus Heresy.
Yeah, pre-Horus Heresy, you had Primarchs, and Astartes referred to their military doctrine rather than who they were as a unit.
As I rescind my point and I accept defeat on the matter. As I said, the lore I was looking into must have either been referring to pre-Horus Heresy or have been factually mistaken. I apologize, and I rescind the point.
I do know, like say, the Imperium does change the law around Astartes quite a lot.
Fucking frequently.
Especially around the Horus Heresy era. Yeah. Because they do lean into how the religious aspect changed after the Emperor's kind of mini-death type thing.
Yeah. I don't think you can call it a mini death. It was pretty much a death, but like he's got some cheat codes, so he's still kind of alive.
Well, he suffered physical death, but he hasn't suffered mental or soul death.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even though technically 1,000 people sacrifice per day to keep that soul alive.
Yeah.
You know,
it's because it's more a case of they're being sacrificed to keep what little of the body is still technically alive.
Yeah.
No, the Emperor's condition in the Imperium of Man is essentially he's basically in a vegetative state. Only like his brain is technically functional and he still has a kind of working heart. But if he doesn't get so much blood per day, his body will just die.
Well, no, because he's referred to on the going through a skeleton.
I think if the Empire went up against the Imperium before the Horus Heresy happened, the Imperium would wipe the floor.
Right. If you at 31, at M31,
that would be like a 60-40.
Is the height of the Imperium of Man. Right. That's when they had all the best technology, the best weaponry.
Yeah.
The warp wasn't a factor mainly in the descent of the universe. It's called it the heightest of humans' power, technically at that point.
Yes.
Right? Now, given the resources there, right, yes, I think the Imperium would have won. It wouldn't be in a very quick victory because of two issues. One, which it brings up in the video actually in a bit, about that the Star Wars ships are faster. Hyper travel is technically faster than the warp travel is.
Yeah.
Right? The biggest problem you have is battle barges and that the Imperial warships are, even without their shielding they have, their armor plating so thick that they could ram right through even a Star Destroyer and not even care about it. Yeah,
they've essentially got essentially got Mac cannons on the nose of those. The Imperium essentially has a Mac cannons on the
Correct, but given the strength of the guns on pre-Empire ships during the height of the Republic, one could argue the Empire has more than enough ability and resource to manufacture weaponry, excuse me, that would tear through the hulls.
They probably could. I mean, a Death Star theoretically could do it.
They could, but it would take a bit. They would take a bit to do it.
It would give like one shot per ship and recharge time. By the time they recharge, let's say they'll take out a few ships, don't get us wrong. By the time Death Star recharged and fired, about after like 10th shot, it will be mincemeated.
You don't know. You don't know that the Death Star only requires like 35 seconds to charge a shot, right?
Yes.
And you do know it has a range of like several hundred light years, right?
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Death Star range, if I remember correctly from Star Wars, is 0.23 AUs.
That's for effective planetary destruction range. Its actual effective range for just damaging or destroying a ship is up to 200 light years. It can do it. It's a bastard to aim it, but it's doable.
No, 200 light years.
As I said, it's damn near impossible to hit the shot, but it would take out a ship if it did hit it in that range.
It takes 200 years to get a kill shot. It seems a bit excessive.
Correct, but it is doable.
Because in theory, then
damn near impossible for them have to land the shot, but theoretically it would be doable.
Because then again, that's going off that theory. Then the Mac cannon on any battle barge, even the small ones, have an effective range of about 500 light years. Because they're essentially real guns.
Yeah. Let's theoretically, yes, but that would be far more dodgeable because it's a big fuck off chunk of metal.
For the sake of the album, we'll say effective kill range. Right? Except for most Imperial ships, I'm saying that's around, I think it's like 400 kilometers, give or take. I'll give the Death Star the advantage on because it's basically a laser weapon. I'll say its effective range is say 1,000 kilometers.
I mean, it depends which Star Wars ship you want to use the math for. If you want to go with the TIE fighters, yeah.
I'm going for Death Star itself as a powerful weapon.
Well, no, for the TIE fighters, it's 25 kilometers. Star Destroyers, it is 32,308 kilometers. For the Death Star, its effective range at max would be, I think it's like 0.86 AU, give or take. It's been a little while since I read that particular blueprint, but it's about 0.86 AU at full max.
So 40,000 kilometers, give or take, then.
Give or take, and that's for like planetary destruction.
Yeah.
And again, that would be a full charge, full power, like fucking, but basically everything non-essential in the Death Star turned off.
Yeah, it's fully functional, full battle ready Death Star. That's what it's basically these maths on.
That's not full battle ready. That's full like delete that planet ready. Full battle ready. About maybe 0.36, 0.4 at a push. If you just want to like destroy a spaceship.
Yeah, which way he's going on, I think he's marking it as like full battle ready, as a combat asset.
I don't know. Considering how badly he's butchered his fucking research already, I doubt he took the time to actually research the ins and outs of the Death Star that extensively.
No, we'll keep going. I do think his characterization of the Empire is a little bit shoddy.
Yeah, it a little shoddy is a polite way to put it.
Especially on the background of some of the stuff he's going on about.
Yeah, it's poor research. Also, I would also like to point out as well, because this is another thing he got wrong, is Governor Tarkin was never the governor of the Outer Rim. He was a general in the Outer Rim sieges that the Empire did, but he was not the governor of the Outer Rims.
Yeah.
In such a way that it couldn't survive the death of any one of them, and then engineered situations that resulted in just that happening. I don't understand it, but that's where we're at. So the Galactic Empire's forces...
I would say he's calculating a storyline with a law base.
Yeah,
Universal law.
That as well. The reason he doesn't get it is because, again, he didn't do his research and doesn't understand how the fucking story is playing out. The reason that the Rebel Alliance even succeeded in destroying the Death Star was A, because of the Force, and B, because of the Force.
Lucky magic shot, I'd say.
Because one of the like as established in Rogue One, one of the engineers decided Hey, maybe I don't like the idea of this massive fuck off laser that can just delete a planet, and I'm
Yeah,
gonna
even then,
engineer a weak spot.
even fucking then, my gamer, right?
You
Even
know,
then, like, let's face it, the Rebel Alliance's attack plan was fucking shoddy at best.
yeah, because like,
That shit,
I'll give you
that
this.
shit only worked because two motherfuckers who are confirmed to have force sensitivity were involved in the battle, one overseeing, one partaking.
I'll give you that, right? Because, like I say, the entire attack plan landed on two fronts. One, that the ground force could take over the station, thus knock off the shield.
Yes, which
Right?
theoretically the Rebel Alliance had nowhere near the manpower to pull that off.
Yeah, that was lucky because they got Ewoks on their side, and then it was a very lucky shot.
Yeah.
Secondly,
That's the second Death Star.
that was the first Death Star on Endor.
No, the Ewoks were the second Death Star. The first Death Star was Yavin 4, where it was just the Rebel Alliance at half power.
Right, okay.
Because the other half of the resources had been wiped out by a previous attempt at the Death Star to do a prison break.
Now, on the actual attack of the first Death Star itself, right, Luke had powered his TIE fighter through a narrow chasm, completely lined with high-powered weaponry.
Yes.
That alone is theoretically possible, damn unlikely, given that Luke's piloting abilities was minimal at best. Because then he barely had 6 months to learn to fly the damn thing in the first place.
Correct, but you are ignoring that Luke, before he joined the Rebel Alliance, did have piloting experience going back several years.
Yeah, civilian piloting experience, not combat piloting experience, but two different things entirely.
Correct, but it's still worth taking into account.
I'm taking into account, but right, you then got to land a very, very lucky shot with a very small margin of error. Right, including the force in this ability of this, it's still a 100-to-1 shot at best.
Yeah, especially for a guy that's like barely knows how to use the force.
Barely knows his force and has almost no combat experience in flight in a heavy combat environment.
Yes.
So, like I say, plot armor played a big role in the downfall of the Death Star.
Correct.
Right, that's what I'm giving it. Because, like, again, I think in the video he's confusing universal law of what's available versus story narrative law.
Which even then, said plot armor is still technically universal lore as well. Because again, said plot armor is justified away by they have the force, and the force works in this way, which allows them these abilities. So technically, it's like he's still right, but he's got the right math, but he's come to the wrong answer.
Yeah. Now, I admit he gets a little bit better when he starts describing actual ships of technology at the time.
Oh, I'll be the fucking judge of that.
Contain the following: the Imperial Navy, a vast fleet including Star Destroyers, which are essentially self-contained assault carrier groups, and the Death Star.
Real quick pause. That just reminded me. I had another gripe with this dickhead.
Okay.
Oh no.
Because there's another gripe towards his ability to do any research. He stated that in the lore, for both Star Wars and Warhammer 40k, that it doesn't give you an accurate description of the size of either of their fleets.
I will admit, Warhammer 4K, it does not.
Warhammer, it does. Star Wars, yeah, it does. Fucking frequently. Just not in the books. And he said we're only taking canon material into account. Unfortunately, I believe Dunderhead here has gotten confused between what canon is and we're only using the movies. Because if we're looking into canon, and that's current timeline canon, not counting Legends canon, but only Disney canon, it is revealed several times in canon comics, canon books, canon supplementary material, what the Empire's fleet size was at its height of power, as well as pretty much every time period throughout the Star Wars canon that is still considered canon, for every faction. So once again, we're proving that either we didn't do our research, or we did do our research, but we don't know what canon means.
I mean,
we're working with false information.
To me, I work off the number of the ships they have. I remember there being somewhere around classified as 50,000 Star Destroyers.
Yes.
If memory serves me correctly on that one. I'm not too...
Yes, that was for the combined galactic fleet of the Empire at its height. It was around 53,000.
Yeah. That's the number I'm generally working with, because you don't see many smaller ships other than TIE fighters and like transport vessels, other than Star Destroyers as their main battlefront force weapon vehicles.
Yeah, TIE fighters, TIE interceptors, and TIE bombers were your main, combat capable smaller vessels.
Yeah.
You had shuttles, which were purely for transport, and then for combat, you had the different classes of Star Destroyer, which were the Star Destroyer Mark II, sorry, at the height of the Empire, the Venator, and the I want to say it was I think it's a Star Destroyer Intrepid, or Incisor, one of the two, because one came before the other. One was the height, one was like damn near the downfall.
I think wasn't Vader's one's called the Devastator or something?
Yes, but that technically it was a speciality ship, so it doesn't count.
Yeah, that was a Starkiller class, if I remember correctly.
Yes, that was a Starkiller class vessel, and there was one of them.
Yeah.
Well, okay, technically there's two, but the second one isn't canon anymore.
Like I say, they don't have many. Like say, didn't have any like frigates or that type of stuff vessels going around, or escort ships.
Yes, because the frigates and escort ships were purely civilian in nature. That's why you see the Rebel Alliance having access to far more frigate and like escort style ships, because they were all privately owned by trade sectors.
Yeah, that's what he's basically working off his math on, which kind of follows canon.
It kind of follows it, but something tells me again he's probably not done anywhere near enough research to get his numbers right.
A moon-sized superweapon capable of annihilating entire planets, whose only weakness appears to be uneducated, illiterate farm boys whose only claim to fame was shooting rats off the back of his speeder like some sort of...
Okay, uneducated, I'll give you half. I'll give you half credit towards that particular claim against Luke Skywalker. Illiterate, on the other hand. Can anyone tell me how many times in Episode 4 alone do you see Luke Skywalker fucking reading?
He was reading porn mags. That doesn't count.
No, I'm talking data readouts as well as information being displayed on a digital display given to him, but like aboard his his X-wing, which is his direct communication to R2-D2.
I sure do love when Luke Skywalker flew a TIE fighter.
The answer is 5 times in Episode 4 alone, and in Episode 5 you see him do it another fucking 7 times. So illiterate. And for the record, I am, for that 7, counting the times you see him definitively fucking capable of reading by reading fucking labels on packaging, such as the fact he was able to distinguish between his fucking toolbox and his ration pack in Episode 5. Given both are the exact same shape and color of fucking box, one would assume motherfucker can read a label. Once again, just because you don't understand how the lore works, doesn't mean that you're right. Fucking, I swear to God. And again, that's only the fucking direct movie canon examples of Luke being able to fucking read and write.
I'm enjoying this because of how much it's upsetting Scotty.
Yeah, if we wanted to waste the next 6 hours of our life, I could go into both the extended lore and the fucking Legends lore to give you every damn example of fucking Luke Skywalker proving he's not illiterate. But we don't have 6 hours. Fucking Jesus Christ. Again, please, if you want to make a video like this, right, where you're going to talk about lore, just read a little bit of it. Just if you're going to say something, fucking Google it first to make sure it's at least kind of correct. For the love of God. Like, fucking... Oh...
What my data? It's like usable data itself, because it's not easy. How the fact sheets work with the Warhammer units. I don't have like anything on the main spaceships yet.
Mm-hmm.
Best I've got is a few like small craft. Like got the Thunderbolt Fighter, which essentially is the TIE Fighter for the Imperial Guard.
Yes.
Right, it's got a look fly type vehicle, armor 10-10 on all sides, range of weaponry, autocannon range 48 inches, strength of 7, AP of 4. Last cannon range 48, strength of 9, AP of 2. Bombs, strength of 6, AP of 4. So it's. You go for the base Space Marine. Base Space Marine has like an AP
Of
of
psychopath.
I think 3, with a attack strength of 6 for a standard Space Marine.
So you're telling me a Space Marine has more firepower than a spaceship?
Yes, in low cannon words,
Yeah.
yes. The heavy bolters is a blasted weapon.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So, and hear me out. Hear me out. Why don't we make the guns on the spaceship out of the same ship we make the bolt gun then?
Well, yes, the autocannon is technically just a heavy bolter.
Then how is it that it does less fucking damage and has less armor piercing capability?
Oh.
Yeah, and we had the hard neck earlier in this video to say that Star Wars contradicts its fucking lore.
Oh, I'm not saying that.
Oh, I'm not saying you said that. I'm saying Dickhead who's making this video essay said it. Fucking,
There's a basic Space Marine.
Fucking Jesus God. I didn't know they made people this incapable of fucking reading.
The veterans. Just give me goddamn. That's fucking Chaplin. Captains. No, captains. God, digging through fucking. This is worse than D&D. I'm so. God damn it.
Said like a true D&D player that's never had the misfortune of being dungeon master before.
Speaking of which,
It'll be done eventually.
Right, we'll
Shut the fuck up, I'll get to it.
Right, we'll tech squad here. Right. So this is a basic standard unit. Here we go. Right, this is the bolt pistol. Alone. We go bolt gun. Range 24. Strength of 4. AP of 0. Detachment of 1. That's.
are you looking at the like the tabletop stats?
Yes, I am.
Ah,
Which is the only stats I have because law-wise they don't give you much difference on that one.
tabletop tends to be really inconsistent with actual lore.
No,
Because
really.
in tabletop, a squadron of guardsmen can body an Adeptus Custodes.
What?
Yeah. Adeptus
What are
Custodian.
the custodians? Like the best of the best, like on par with Primarchs, like in terms of strength,
Yeah.
which in realistic lore could never fucking happen.
Oh yeah, except for like the 15 times it did happen?
Right, stories in law represented as it's all powerful psychic type beings. But realistically, they're just a slightly better Space Marine on their basic
They're
stats.
a lot better than regular Space Marines.
If you count their psychic abilities, yes, and equipment, but armor wise, there's still not that much difference between the two.
And again, you're also ignoring the, again, guesstimated 15 times in the lore that I can roughly remember occurring where an Adeptus Custodes was bodied by a single squad of fucking Imperial Guards. Now, granted, almost every single time it was Kriegsmarines that did it, but fucking still.
Yeah.
The Kriegers with the shovels
Right? That's just an Imperial Guard with a fucking gas mask. It's still the
and
same
a
game.
shovel. You cannot forget the all important shovel.
I mean, that's one thing people forget is when you look at like lore wise, right? The Imperial Guard basically was a lad's rifle, right? Which is essentially a high-powered railgun But LS for L6 purposes. You know, people think, oh, it's a basic rifle. No, think in nuclear building. Fairly simple. And that's a standard weapon to all Imperial Guardsmen.
Yes.
You know, so yes, I can imagine Imperial Guards bodying Space Marine. A few of them would die, yes. But yes, they're more than capable of bodying a Adaptive Starter very simply. And that. Considering that the average fielding of an Imperial Legion is of 10,000 plus for Imperial Guards, whereas a Space Marine company is about 30.
Well, 30 fielded, 100 total to the faction.
Yeah, depending on the faction. I think Ultramarines has about 400 per faction, where some have a little less. Depending particularly on the faction itself and how loyal they are to the Emperor.
I just mean if you take like all the Canon Space Marine factions and you take the median average, it's about 100 total.
Yeah.
30 fielded per campaign, we're about 100 total, give or take.
Yeah, it's about that.
So, numbering 25,000 Imperial Star Destroyers and escort ships in the alleged millions, a mix of corvettes, frigates, gunships, and light cruisers, each...
Right. I'm going to call him bullshit there, because no way. If he's going off before Hoth, the Empire did not use frigates or corsairs as any kind of fleet ship. That was done...
No, they did, just not for heavy battle.
Again, that was done, but if you go off like the Battlefront games, they did have some bells again for like more of a surgical strike missions for specialized units.
Which, given the Battlefront games aren't considered canon.
They aren't?
I thought they were.
No, none of the 4 Battlefront titles are considered canon.
That's some bullshit.
They're considered Legends lore, which is not canon.
Okay, I'll go for the... I know the Clone Wars did put them up now and again. Some Corsair ships.
Yes, but again, that's not the Empire, that's the Galactic Republic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the Republic.
So say I've got no evidence of the Empire actually using Corsairs.
So they did have them. It was rare they were deployed for battle, but they did have access to them. The main reason they weren't often deployed for combat was because they were technically more expensive to use than their Star Destroyers.
Yeah.
Because again, most of your frigates and Corsairs were privately owned by traditionally trade companies, but a few were owned by mercenary companies, so they had to basically hire outside mercenary resources to use them.
Imperial Star Destroyer contains 72 TIE craft, several dozen assault craft, 9,700 troops, standard weaponry, which includes turbo lasers, which are really not lasers but plasma bolts, ion cannons, which don't do any damage but rather interfere with an electrical system temporarily, and tractor beams to hold smaller ships in place.
Ion cannons that don't do any damage. They just interfere with electrical systems.
I think he's going off what I saw in the movies. That one.
Even then, Gamer doesn't understand how A, ion works, and B, how fucking interfering with electrical systems would work. Guy clearly doesn't understand basic electronics.
But yeah, cause
if I overload an electrical system using fucking ion of all things, that's going to cause quite a few circuitry systems within that system to explode.
Kablooey.
Now, last time I checked, something as small as a capacitor exploding would count as fucking damage.
Yeah, the iron can potentially do massive amount of power surge throughout the entire ship.
Yes. Theoretically, you can destroy a ship with an ion cannon. It's fucking tricky, but it is doable. In fact, this has been done in Star Wars canon with Star Wars The Clone Wars, the TV show, where they destroyed the ship known as Malevolence.
Yeah, it was the Malevolence.
Ion shot.
I thought the Malevolence was what was using the ion. No, the Malevolence was what was using the ion.
No,
It
the
was-
Malevolence was using an EMP blast, and it was destroyed using an ion torpedo that hit the electromagnetic pulse generator.
Right, yeah, I remember. And they tried to fire it again, and the weapon exploded.
Yes. Now, I will grant you permission towards the misunderstanding because an electromagnetic pulse generator and an ion cannon in Star Wars lore work very similar to each other. So I will grant you the misunderstanding on that one, because that one is very easily done.
I've looked at all my books I've got in the hand. I can't find any info on actual ships of Warhammer 40k. The actual main spaceships.
Yeah.
I would have got like small
probably
fighters.
It's probably like hidden in deep extended lore books.
No, there is some like specific rule books which have data sets on them, and that, but I just don't have those books at hand.
Yeah, exactly. So deep extended lore books.
Yeah, because there's like the couple of battles where it involves Imperial, like the Navy itself, and the craft world combat and that type of stuff, which is very iffy gameplay.
Which, like, yeah, that does sound like hell. So
It is, because you've got to take like the gravitational movements of your ship to get around corners, and it's very funky math.
sounds about right.
Right, now my one question about him so far, this one, is the amount of troops on board a Star Destroyer being nearly 700.
97,000, I believe he said.
No, he said 9,700.
Was it 9700?
Yeah.
Huh. Either way, I'm not 100% sure about that.
Well, I'm pretty sure No Hope, it does state that the Star Destroyer contains at least 50,000 ground troops capable of landing.
I will be completely honest when I say I do not off the top of my head know the staffing capacity of a Star Destroyer.
I know you mentioned ground troops.
I will fully admit defeat on that particular point because I do not have the information on hand to argue against his assessment. So I'm willing to concede to his estimate.
And the Imperial Army, whose ground forces are responsible for planetary occupations and maintaining order. Your average basic bitch army with no frills or whistles, and numbers in the tens of millions. And the Stormtrooper Corps, elite shock troops, quote unquote, known for their white armor and unwavering loyalty, deployed to suppress resistance and enforce Imperial decree. Numbering in the millions, will immediately lose to primitive carnivorous teddy bears and anyone with a ballistic weapon, knife, or 20/20 vision. And finally, we've got the Tarkin Doctrine.
Do you want to say something in Vegas?
Once again, we're getting confused between canon information and plot points, but
yeah, I mean, I'll fill in. I mean, if I remember correctly, they classify as elite guard who have firing capability of, I think it was 1,000 yards or something with their weapons.
That's about that.
And that. And their armor, I think, is rated to take on several shots from their main weaponry, which is the bolter, which is the plasma shotter, without taking any major damage.
Yes, it's on like if you were to steal a stormtrooper's weapon off of him, it would take on average 3 shots to the chest, 2 to the head, or 7 to the leg to kill or incapacitate.
Yeah, and the helmet's supposed to contain thermal vision, that type of stuff, communication devices, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Which advocated ruling through fear of force rather than force itself, utilizing the Death Star as the ultimate symbol of Imperial might to deter rebellion. How well did that work? And an incredibly stupid doctrine. The minute actually anyone tries to test you and it turns out your military apparatus is so top-heavy, rigid, and resistant to change that you can't muster a proper counterinsurgency operation. If you think I'm wrong, there's 6,000 years of recorded history to back up my assertion. Check.
You are wrong. Rule through fear does work very well.
It's also a case of like none of what he just said was how the Empire was doing business.
Yeah. Even though, even after the destruction of the first the Death Star, it still took an average, what, I think it was 10, 12 years for them to take out Palpatine as a whole. And even then, the Republic didn't really gain anything as a main hull for another 15 years. By the time they put down pockets of resistance of Imperial forces holdouts in like the outer sectors.
Your year gaps are off by a margin, but you know what? It's fucking closer than this decade is on, so
How far we're out?
quite a bit.
Okay.
Like a fair margin, but again, you're fucking closer than this decade is, so I'm willing to just let it slide.
I'm always working off like for the last bit is Mandalorian. I don't quite know when that takes place, so I'm guessing about 15 years.
Do you want to know the actual answer
Go on, then.
for when the Mandalorian takes place? The Mandalorian is 6 years after the events of Episode 6.
Fair enough. I accept that.
Yeah, 19 is the gap between Episode 6 and Episode 7.
Checkmate, history nerds. So, with that mouthful done, let's move on to the Imperium of Man. You know what? I think I'll just read you the same description I came up with my previous video because, well, it works and nothing has changed. Now I'm going to give you two different descriptions because I'm going to use the Imperium on two different points in their timeline. The first is the Imperium of Man during its prime at the Great Crusade just post-Ullanor, with a complete lack of Erebus because he's an asshole and would single-handedly fuck this whole scenario straight into the ground. So I will endeavor to keep this quick because most of you know what 40k is, what the Imperium of Man is. If you don't, check out a few videos on YouTube. Otherwise, I will endeavor to keep this quick. If you're new here, pay attention. The Imperium of Man during the Great Crusade was a vast and ambitious interstellar empire founded by the Emperor of Mankind in the late 30th millennium. This fella right here. Emerging from the chaos of the Age of Strife, the Emperor sought to reunite humanity across the galaxy under a single, secular, and scientifically advanced regime. The Great Crusade was a military campaign to reclaim lost human colonies and exterminate or subjugate alien species. At its core, the Emperor, a 14-foot-tall, immortal, godlike being wielding immense psychic power and unmatched intellect.
8 foot tall.
Yeah, it was 8 foot tall, without armor, 14 only in armor, because, you know, Space Marine armor adds what, fucking 6 feet? Give or
Yeah,
take?
something like that.
But he wasn't a god, wink wink,
So that was a fucking lie.
and was supported by his 18 Primarchs, genetically engineered demigods who commanded the Legiones Astartes, the superhuman Space Marine warriors, and these armies were bolstered by the Imperial Army, Titans, fleets of warships, and a lot of the other parts of the Imperial Armed Forces. The Imperium of this era was a beacon of progress, emphasizing technological mastery and Enlightenment-era ideals. However, it was also brutally authoritarian, using force to enforce compliance, destroying cultures that resist unification, and alien species were deemed a threat to humanity's survival and were annihilated, as they should be. That's going to be one version of the Imperium of Man for this scenario. The second one is going to be from M42, obviously. Here's a hint. It's a lot like 30k, but worse. So much worse. Like 1950s suburban housewife, Jell-O-encased food worse. I cannot emphasize how worse it is. The Imperium of Man has become a vast dystopian empire spanning over 1 million worlds across the galaxy. Its civilization is devoted to the preservation of humanity, ruled by the immortal God Emperor of Mankind, who has been interred on the Golden Throne of Terra for 10,000 years. His guidance holds the Imperium together, but he exists in a perpetual state of near death, sustained by the sacrifice of 1,000 psychers daily. The Imperium has become a theocratic and authoritarian regime where loyalty, faith, and obedience to the Emperor are paramount. Its society is rigidly hierarchical, with planetary governors, bureaucratic organizations like the Adeptus Administratum, and militant branches like the Adeptus Astartes and the Astra Militarum. The Imperium also relies on the Adeptus Mechanicus for technology, though innovation is kind of taboo, and most other machines are ancient relics.
Probably not too far off that point.
True, but he's also being contradictory.
What's that?
Well, most of the points he's bringing up about the Imperium of Man, both so like at their height and at this point in time, are the same points he brought up about the Empire that were bad about the Empire. Those points being that they ruled through force as well as fear of force, as well as the fact that, and I really need to make this point very clear, both are morally wrong for several reasons, but one of the key reasons being both practice fucking slavery.
Slavery makes the world go round.
I mean, I will concede this one point. In terms of, like, which empire is more morally justified, I've got to give it to Palpatine.
I mean, yeah. Like, Palpatine's actually had a lower crime rate. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Palpatine's actually a nicer person than
Yeah, but he looks like a wrinkled ball sack.
Yeah, like, again, like, the Galactic Empire in Star Wars had a lower crime rate than the Imperium Man did, and it also had a much fucking better economic standing.
Not that even moral standing was much more improved compared to Imperial Man.
Yes.
You know, any crime done in the Empire in the Imperial Man times and 41 in the 41st was essentially, you know, you stole off a bread. Congratulations, you're now a mindless slave.
Yes. And that was under the assumption that you weren't just instantly branded a heretic and shot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although that's probably a nicer punishment.
Okay. Once again, the guy's bias is fucking showing quite heavily.
You know, in Warhammer, you know, oh look, a single alien dropped on this planet, this farming planet. Okay, it's now corrupted. That's just glassing entire planet now.
Yeah. Like,
all 1 million civilians have now been corrupted by this one alien, which are nowhere near the settlement. So let's just glass it all to death.
Life in the Imperium is brutal, with most citizens living in grinding poverty and ignorance. Well, the Imperium wages constant war against alien species, heretics, and the malevolent forces of chaos. It's a mantra of survival at all costs. It fuels its xenophobia, religious zeal, and relentless militarism. While humanity's greatest protector, the Imperium is paradoxically mankind's greatest oppressor, perpetuating stagnation, fear, and suffering. It's both a crumbling relic of the Emperor's utopian...
Yeah, another point is the Imperium is not a standardized government. Each planet technically has its own ruler, each sector has its own ruler, which don't necessarily get on. In fact, there's some like far-off planetary systems which have no contact with Earth or the Imperium for the best part of 5,000 years.
correct.
In the lower 40k. You know, so just a side thing there for that one.
vision.
Like, technically, in terms of how their government runs, the Imperium of Man is not that different to the Galactic Empire during its height. You know, each individual sector and planet has its own internal government that answers directly to a higher figure.
Not even that, it's even slightly worse, because technically Palpatine was always at the top and give his orders out.
Yes.
Directly in the Imperium, the Guard Emperor sits on top, but even then, he'd always come out as a faint whisper of psychic energy picked up by a few lone psychics who then essentially twist his words to suit their needs.
Correct.
Because they say, if you read the actual lore about the Emperor, he hated religion with a passion.
Yes.
Yeah.
And essentially in 40k, he becomes God. The one thing he absolutely fucking hated.
Yes.
Bulwark against extinction in a completely hostile galaxy, where countless horrors seek humanity's annihilation. It is a realm of despair, yet also of unending and unyielding resilience of the human spirit. In the grim dark of the far future, there is only war. Once again, that's one heck of a mouthful, and here's why my brain started to hurt. Doing the math to roughly calculate the size of the Navis Imperialis. Oh, let's get into this. Break out your textbook, boys and girls. The Navis Imperialis is broken down as follows. Keep in mind, I am calculating this based off of M41, as that lore at least provides enough starting points to make some basic assumptions about the math we need. So a sector fleet contains roughly 50 to 75 capital ships based on the strategic needs of the sector, a mix of battleships, grand cruisers, battle cruisers. And line ships might, but battleships for sure, contain dozens of fighters, bombers, gunships, depends on the type of cruiser or grand cruiser that's out there. Each one's got dozens of squadrons of escorts, so destroyers, frigates, and corvettes. So we can calculate how many ships the Imperium's got based on two things. We can calculate the size of the galaxy and how many cubic light years a sector is and break it down based on that, but it's not going to work. Let me tell you why. Because that gives us roughly 1 million sectors if we do it that way. All right, so let's do the math here. And here's why we just can't calculate based off of volume. The Milky Way galaxy is approximately 8 trillion cubic light years. A sector is 8 million cubic light years. That gives us 1 million sectors. We know the entire Milky Way galaxy is not occupied by the Imperium. There's orcs out there. There's other pocket empires. There's the Tau. There's the Halo stars. Places the Imperium just doesn't fuck. All right? And no matter how large and shiny space is, it's mostly fucking empty. And not every chunk of space is important as others. So the Imperium of Man also gives planet caps for their sector size, 120 to 220 per sector. Now, assuming the Imperium of Man actively controls 1 million worlds, as they say, that gives us a maximum of 5,000 occupied sectors. And we'll just use a median number for ships, say 65, and that gives us 325,000 ships of the line prior to the addition of the Astartes vessels and escorts.
Yeah, that's only capital ships, mate.
Yeah. So he's already fucked his own maths.
Yeah, he's not counting like the smaller ships, which will be billions by this point. He's not even mentioning the. I think he does mention. Don't you have mentioned the Astartes battle barges, which are essentially 3-kilometer long warships.
So we know there's 1,000 Astartes chapters on average. Each one has got an average of 16 ships of the line. That's a mix of battle barges, strike cruisers. That gives us 16,000 additional heavy warships. Assuming just one squadron of escorts per ship of the line is 3.9 active light combat ships. Operational reserves in the Segmentum Obscurus are of unknown strength, but assumed to be in the tens of thousands of ships of the line and their attendant escorts. However, only a fraction be crewed at any one time, given the sparsely populated Segmentum. Because both are galactic empires, I'm just going to...
One thing I would say is I would remove the Astartes out of the equation. Out of this.
No, I'd still do the math around the Astartes, honestly.
No, see, I would have to go with the Imperium. The Imperial, like the Astartes Imperial forces. Because the Astartes are essentially the Jedi type things of the 40k world.
Correct.
And they removed that from the Empire.
That's because the Empire didn't have them, realistically.
Yeah, they only had Darth Vader.
Like, the Empire had the height of the Empire's power. 10 active cannon Sith fighters, 11 if you want to count Palpatine, but you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Palpatine wasn't actually an active combat user.
Correct. Like, once in a blue moon in the canon, he did some fights, but they were mostly duels against assassins, so it doesn't count.
Yeah. And to be honest, if you watch even in canon, it's like the when he fought Windu.
Yes, he got his shit rocked.
Yeah, the only way you won that by essentially throwing Windu out of a window.
Yes, I mean,
yeah.
To be fair, it is
Out the window.
It is heavily implied that Palpatine lost that fight on purpose, but sadly, that's not provable.
Even against Yoda, he only won the fight because of backup from clones.
Like he won by backup and circumstance, but
yeah.
You
know, so I'm not saying and Palpatine actually as a combat unit, but as a military leader, shall we say?
Yeah, he'd be more of like a military leader.
Yeah.
To lovingly turn the Star Wars galaxy on its side, move it over onto the other side of the 40K galaxy, and lovingly ram that right in there, ignoring all the cosmological horror and disaster that this would create. Hello, unknown regions. You're lovingly being replaced by Ultramar. Like I said, both empires will have access to their method of travel, so warp travel works in Star Wars Galaxy and hyperspeed works in 40K. Psychers still work, Jedi powers still work. No one's going to follow the chaos only because I don't want to be here all day explaining how a Sichian greater demon cannot crawl out of the stump of Darth Vader's weenie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to be fair, right? If you want to go deep low, Echo's lost it. Come back, Echo. Come back. I mean, if you want to bring Chaos God into it, you have to bring back the forced old ones in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, who would win instantly because they can literally just tell the universe to stop existing.
I mean,
That's amazing.
I mean, Chaos Gods are equally as powerful, I would say.
I don't know. If the Chaos Gods were equally as powerful in the sense of they say stop and the galaxy stops existing, Warhammer would have been a real fucking short fucking game, wouldn't it? Because the Chaos would have won by default, because the Chaos Gods went, and the Imperium of Man doesn't exist. And the Tau Empire doesn't exist. And the Orcs, they don't exist. Sing with me now. And the Eldar don't exist. And those robot things I can never remember the fucking name of. Necrons, there they are. Don't exist. And nobody else exists. And now the Chaos owns all of the galaxy.
To be honest,
Now the Chaos Gods can't do that, can they now?
I will admit, I would look to see the Star Wars versus Necrons.
I mean, there is 5 different currently considered canon comic lines about basically that.
What happened fucking Necrons?
Basically. You've got two canon lines where the Geonosian Geonosian brain worms take over entire planets in the I believe in one comic the Republic has to deal with that, and in another one the High Republic gets to deal with that, which is great fun. There is the there's 2 more canon lines where a straight up zombie virus ends up taking over, I believe.
Oh yeah, you talk about the Darkwing, the Project Darkwing.
No, I'm getting
right.
Project Darkwing. You're ahead of me. A zombie virus takes over 13 total Imperial Star Destroyers beyond the Outer Rim in uncharted space. Said virus came from the deep dark of the uncharted region, which is, for anyone that's curious, that's the same region of space where Emperor Palpatine is discovered. Somehow he's alive in Episode 9 of Star Wars.
We don't talk about that. We don't talk about that.
Still, Project Darkwing was only 2 comic books in length, so it isn't technically a full comic line, but I will concede you it to bring us up to 6 total comic lines, because there was another one that was done where it was if memory serves, it was a contingency set of battle droids that were set up by the Trade Federation before their collapse that was supposed to be an emergency backup army, because the original idea that the Separatists had was the Trade Federation and any surviving Separatists were going to fall back to just beyond the Outer Rim into uncharted space to meet up with this spare army in order to basically begin a counter siege against the Republic in the event that they won. Unfortunately, Darth Vader cut them all in half before they could do this. In said comic line, the basic backup army of droids essentially get the droid equivalent to brain cancer and zombie virus at the same time. Because basically their programming corrupts, causing them to lose all sense of who they're supposed to be fighting. All they know is kill organics, and they also basically get infected with again, the droid equivalent to a zombie virus, by which I mean mentally unstable nanites that are able to self-repair and heal said droids when they take damage.
I was gonna ask if it was like the logic plague in
Hmm?
I was gonna ask if it was like the logic plague in Halo, but
Not really. It's
yeah, doesn't sound like it.
essentially they had a programming fault at the exact same time they accidentally got space flu. Or more accurately, robot flu.
Now, I know if we just look at the numbers, it is a absolute total wash in favor of the Imperium Man. The Imperium Man's military outnumbers them by a factor of 8 in just ships of the line. Keep in mind that's battleships, battle cruisers, grand cruisers, heavy cruisers, standard and light cruisers, and either by a factor of 2 or 3 to 2 for escort vessels. And ground force outnumbering is just absolutely incalculable. A single Imperial regiment like Krieg can outnumber the entire galactic ground forces, and their weapons are just simply far more devastating. But Tony, I hear you scream, blasters still kill. You're right, they do, and very efficiently, I might add. But the humble Imperial lasgun, the standard Imperial Army rifle, blows limbs clean off. And the power only goes up from there as more veteran and specialized units enter the battlefield.
Sodaz animation. I didn't expect to be some Sodaz animations in this. That's cool.
Sora?
It's
Sodaz.
online creator that does like Warhammer animation.
Ah.
Well, he used to until he got bullied, like to the point he didn't want to make him anymore.
Understandable. Words cannot describe how few fucks I give.
Hellguns on Scions, anyone? Another type of warfare that I don't think that the Galactic Empire are at all prepared for is the level of pure psychological warfare that the Imperial Man can bring against them. What do you think is going to happen when the Empire encounters a combat servitor for the first time, or even an Astartes? There's no parallel in their universe. The mere mention of their fate if they
I think you lost it.
I'm so merry. Oh, this sweet innocent child who thinks the Empire doesn't understand psychological warfare. That's fucking adorable.
I mean, they
the fifth siege of Ryloth, anyone? Anyone remember that particular battle in Star Wars canon? The fifth siege of Rylon? Anyone? Ryloth, sorry. Oh, oh, they can't comprehend the sheer level. Oh, baby doll, the Galactic Empire can make the Imperial Man look like fucking amateurs when it comes to fucking psychological warfare. Quite frankly, the Galactic Empire invented that shit, and then they perfected it. Fucking adorable, my sweet innocent child.
are captured by the Imperium or just being scooped up and ground into corpse starch is probably going to cause considerable desertions in the Galactic Empire's military forces. The first squad of stormtroopers is literally cut in half by a single swing of a chainsword, while their blaster bolts ineffectually bounce off their armor. The fear the Death Star is going to induce.
What?
Neither of which are how that works at all, but okay.
I mean, blaster bolts probably would just bounce off starter armor.
Yeah, they would.
I disagree, but
Well, no, I mean,
Las guns are more powerful than blasters, and las guns bounce off of Astartes armor.
Again, I disagree with you, but
no, in canon law of Warhammer, yeah, they do. Las rifles.
oh, no, I agree because I know that the las cannons bounce off. What I disagree is the statement of las cannons are more powerful.
I'll say they are.
Blasters can be modified to be far more lethal than a las rifle because it all boils down to what gas is being used as ammunition inside of a blaster.
Yeah, okay. I'm going. Yeah, of course, standard issue blaster, right? Given to thingy. That hits, they can kill. right? Whereas a standard issue las rifle could blow holes right through the deck platings.
Yeah, see, now the problem here, right? The problem here that arises is it completely negates the fact that the Empire's entire battle strategy when it comes to what ammunition they're going to use in battle directly correlates to what enemy they're going to be fighting. The ammunition you see most commonly used by stormtroopers specifically in the Star Wars canon is one of the weakest ammunition types available because the Empire's fighting a bunch of fucking farmers.
Yes, but
Now, if you had, say, for example, a canon battle that did happen where Imperial stormtroopers are fighting a rogue battalion of other Imperial stormtroopers, you end up with one of the most gory battles in galactic history where human beings are being turned into pink mist by singular shots of blaster fire.
yes, right. I'm granting all that. But I also think that point is the Astartes armor can bounce off their equivalent of tank rounds.
Correct.
Right, and their equivalent of tank rounds, given by law of standards alone, are the same pretty much as the Star Destroyers, turbo lasers are.
Yes.
And they
Even now, the cannon power for a turbo laser is calculated based on the weakest ammunition possible for it because it's the only one we actually see used in canon. If you go off of the other canon ammunitions and their strength in terms of the power they can put out, those turbo lasers are going to turn a fucking Astartes into a goddamn salad.
Yes, but when you're acquiring a battleship, warship to try and take out one guy, you can see the difference in terms of pure combat power.
Again, given the turbo lasers and the portable blasters use the same types of gas for ammunition, and both of their most powerful option is turn literally anything into salad, and or just a cloud of vaguely human-shaped vapor. I disagree. Like, the most powerful gas ammunition available to be used by the Galactic Empire, like as a portable ammunition for stormtroopers, can literally turn 10 men in full stormtrooper armor into what used to be human beings and is now a cloud. You're going from 3 shots to kill 1 motherfucker to 1 shot to kill 10 motherfuckers. That's an improvement factor of 30 in strength. I'd like to see a fucking Imperium of Man Gauss rifle do that shit.
Well, which Gauss rifle are you on about?
The one the Imperial Guard used, the fucking
Las rifle.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, the las gun.
The las gun has ability to pierce through. I think if you cross a straight line of about 15 people and buildings.
Yes, but again, can it turn a group of 10 men into literally just fucking vapor?
Well,
I'm not talking like vapor and a dust pile. I'm talking pure fucking vapor. Just gas in a vaguely humanoid shape.
Again, you versus heat weaponry versus actual physical kinetic energy.
Still.
My
point still stands there.
Not really, because they say effective kill range of a kinetic round, right, going 15-minute people, buildings, and everything else, versus something that potentially a microwave gun, laser weapon, which uses heat to annihilate targets. Yes, it takes out 10 people, but still effective damage range and effective kill range, the las rifle still takes it.
3,225 feet.
What, that the high-powered blaster round?
Yes. And even then, that's not the highest powered blaster round in Star Wars canon. That's just the highest powered gas round available to the Galactic Empire.
Best probably Wikipedia would be.
I find Wikipedia is kind of 50-50 sometimes, actually, when it comes to their kinetic lore, but that's... Kinetic lore? Fucking brain, that's not even close to the word you want. It's kinetic. Armament, brain. Armament lore. What the fuck is kinetic lore, brain? I can follow my own train of thought for how I got to the word kinetic, but I was
Yeah,
still
I
not
can
wrong
totally
fucking
turn
word
the
by a
thought.
long shot. Fucking-
Weapon strength on that one. Screen rant.
I wouldn't take it off Screen Rant because they're going to go off only the movies. Which again, as I previously fucking made very clear, there's a difference between canon information and only the movies. The movies are about 1/5 of what's currently canon. If that.
Limits of the Legend of Dark Forces Novelia.
Which is no longer canon, so they're outdated.
Again, doesn't have much actual data on it.
I said, you gotta do deep lore digging. Which, once again, the guy doing the video essay didn't do that much deep lore digging when it comes to Star Wars. He's evidently only deep door log fucking Warhammer. Which is disingenuous at nicest.
And that meanest?
If I said the meanest, would be banned on YouTube.
What do I do no digging this one? I'm not getting no deal. Right, here we go. Interesting.
It's Reddit. You'll scroll through those comments for about 3 hours and still not have the right fucking answer.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 guys in this post will have the right answer, and both will be called fucking idiots because it's Reddit.
Who's the bitch comparing the standard blaster round to 50 caliber?
Not even close.
I think the big question comes down to what is it is it a laser weapon or a plasma weapon?
Plasma. It's superheated gas.
Use a single planet killer, anyone? Any Imperial fleet with sufficient authority can sign a death warrant of a population or a planet, and they have far more effective methods than a single dumb super laser space station that requires more resources than hundreds of fleets. The fact that the Galactic Empire has no way to wage this kind of warfare on the Imperial Man effectively or even at all speaks volumes of their complacency. Now, the next factor to consider is attrition and how both empires cope with it. Both empires are geared towards this type of fighting and build their forces accordingly. The Galactic Empire, with their extremely explosive TIE craft and roughly disposable everything, and primarily infantry-based combat with little armor, basically a sci-fi marine light expeditionary unit. And when they do deploy armor forces, it's less of a tactical decision and more of an attempted show of force to intimidate. Whereas the Imperial Man will literally field hundreds of tanks, artillery, and knights or titans, depending on the scale of battle. And while each one of these is technically produced en masse by the lowest bidder, the Mechanicus case, the bidder is still rugged enough to keep working after centuries of use.
Skitari, I want to enter your temple. Access granted.
Great, Santelis. Good job.
Now, mind you, the Galactic Empire never got to last that long, and all of its successor states were just as incompetent, so we never got to see how long Imperial tech could last. Overall, in M31 or M41, the Galactic Empire cannot match the ground warfare component of the Imperial Man on its best day, or even on its worst day. And in space, it isn't looking much better. So let's see how they fare in void combat. And in void combat, while the Imperium of Man has got the greater quantity of ships, they are spread out the whole of the galaxy and would take months to years to recall the majority of them due to the oddities of warp travel. What they lack in speed, though, they make up for in firepower and tonnage. The smallest ship of the line in 40K is almost 3 times the mass and larger than an Imperial Star Destroyer 2 and possesses far more weaponry. Even the largest Galactic Empire ship during this time, the Executor class, is
Not
still
even close.
smaller than a Gloriana and only twice as massive as, say, an Emperor class battleship. And the Emperor carries significantly more fighters and longer ranged weapons. Coupled with several major flaws with Galactic Imperial capital ship design, the oversized dorsal launch bay and the relatively thin, wide profiles, hyperdrive susceptibility to gravity wells, and the placement of their bridges, shield generators, and the large placement of their reactors. And what I mean by this is depending on who the Empire run into, will likely determine how they're going to be attacked. For an example, an Astartes battle barge is likely to prefer Thunderhawk gunship and boarding actions to gather intelligence on them while shouting, "Wrong Emperor, motherfucker." And introducing stormtroopers to a level of violence Darth Disco Tits, I mean Vader, could only dream of. And while ships of the Navis Imperialis are more likely to respond using standard Imperial naval tactics, as well as the one tactic the Galactic Empire will be completely unprepared to face.
Perhaps today is a good day to die. Prepare for ramming speed!
Imperium of Man ships are built specifically for this type of warfare. Once a battle is joined, there'll be a great many Imperial commander giving the ramming speed order once it's widely known the location of the Galactic Empire's bridges and how susceptible they are to being pushed around or through. And it pretty much takes any ISD out of the fight, given how very centralized their command structure is the minute their bridge is destroyed. And finally, the last major flaw of the Empire's ships is their susceptibility to gravity wells. Several classes of ships employed by the Imperium of Man have enough mass to actually hold atmosphere outside of their hull. Having that much mass comes with a not insignificant gravitational pull. While obviously not on par with a planet or even some large asteroids, it is still enough to act as a gravitational well, and enough Imperial ships in
I don't think I know enough about Imperial hyperdrive. The Empire to give a quote on that one.
He is correct in that the gravity wells would affect the hyperdrives, but it would only affect them in terms of leaving the battle, not joining it.
Yeah.
So yes, the Imperial fleets would be incapable of retreat, but also the Empire doesn't do retreat anyway.
in
Well,
one
at least
location,
not in naval combat.
say an M31 Astartes Crusade fleet, might even be enough to overwhelm some galactic hyperdrives. Not saying it's a sure thing, I'm just saying it's something that can happen. Yes, the Empire has a few advantages. Yes, their FTL is substantially faster than traveling through the warp. And their senses are far better. And this theoretically could allow them to skirt the Navis Imperialis for considerable portions of time, just like the Star Trek universe, until they say they felt they had been able to muster a significantly large enough fleet to take an objective before the Imperium of Man could send a relief fleet. But again, depending on the strategic importance of the sector, short of dropping out of hyperspace with the entire Galactic Empire's fleet and hoping to simply choke the system with the corpses of officers, scrap metal, and stormtrooper body parts. Just kidding. But seriously, outside of outnumbering the Imperium of Man fleet by a massive margin, the Empire Navy is going to be routed shortly after contact. And before everyone brings up the alleged power scale of Star Wars turbo lasers, first off, the range blows. The longest range it could find was just over 1,000 kilometers, with 15 to 30 kilometers being
not
the
even close.
optimal range, and 100 kilometers being the most common range I could find. And
For
the
one
power
ammunition
levels,
type.
if they were even close to the alleged power levels, they would be unable to fire them in atmosphere because everything would catch fire
Correct.
a lot.
Correct.
And they wouldn't need a Death Star. Allow me to give you an
Wrong.
example, okay? The impact of a turbo laser bolt is supposed to release the equivalent energy of a magnitude 10 earthquake. I need you to understand how much
Correct.
energy that is. That would destroy everything on Earth, including the Earth itself. According
Wrong.
to some fella
No,
on
he's right
Quora,
about that.
Nope.
Yeah, pinpoint strike from magnitude 10 earthquake type energy release would crack the crust like an egg.
Nope.
Yes, it's
No.
yes.
No, you're conflating the difference between like how a turbo bolt would produce that kind of impact when impacting a target,
Yes, I'll be right back.
how something like say an asteroid would do it. It's also completely negating the fact that turbo bolts are, for some ungodly reason, affected by drag when they enter an atmosphere, which means no turbo bolt shot from an Imperial Star Destroyer could hit a planet with that force. They could
Yeah,
only
man.
hit a ship with that force.
No, they could.
No.
No, the drag will be effective if you give enough speed while entering the planet's atmosphere. You still can hit that kind of force.
No.
Yes, that's how asteroids do it.
Not with how the turbo bolts work in the Star Wars canon. Granted, if we were to take this battle scenario and put it into like our universe as a hosting universe, yes, I'll grant you that math. Unfortunately, we're working with lore and lore around battles happening in both the Warhammer universe and the Star Wars universe. And we've already established, based upon the rules that the technology has to function the same in both universes, that the weaponry would be restricted to the same rules in both universes as their home universe. You know, if warp can work the same way in the Imperial of Man universe as it does in the Star Wars universe, and vice versa, then we have to assume the weaponry uses the same rules it does in its home universe as it does in the opposition's universe. Therefore, we have to do the math based upon the Star Wars lore math, which says no.
who's a geophysics engineer, it's the mathematical equivalent of detonating 400,000 SAR bombas all at once. And when we see turbo lasers impacting
Close
cannon,
enough.
it's nowhere
I said that's close enough mathematically.
near that level of destruction. So I'm going to call pure BS on that. At best, it's as destructive as, say, a high-yield macro cannon round. For the most part, Imperial ships could and would simply outrange any Empire's ship and blow them apart with macro cannon and lance fire. In M31, I just don't think the Empire could muster the momentum to maintain any offensive against the resurgent Imperium of Man, just due to the fact that its naval might would be considerably larger, more organized, already be on a unified war footing, and the expeditionary fleets are constantly being followed by follow-on forces to secure all worlds brought into compliance. The Empire might be able to secure a few tactical victories, might even be able to destroy a few worlds with their Death Star before it comes under a massive assault by one or more Primarchs and their legions and removed us from the equation entirely. The thing is the Imperium of Man is still actively producing ships at this time, new ships, new forces constantly. And yeah, granted, the Galactic Empire might be able to move from place to place with its forces in one fleet to outnumber any sector fleet that they come across. Because the warp is much calmer during this period without Erebus's bullshit, Imperial expeditionary fleets make really good time by 40k standards. So crossing massive portions of the galaxy in relatively short periods of weeks and months at most. Recognizing the imminent threat to the Imperium, the Big E is likely to send half of his legions and Primarchs to deal with them. I would estimate that based on this, that M31, the Galactic Empire, would likely cease to exist militarily in maybe 3 to 4 decades, tops.
Okay,
the complete
problem.
xenocide and compliance of their
There's a problem with this assumption. It's quite simple. At the height of the Galactic Empire's strength, if you gathered the entire Galactic Empire's fleet together and put them on one side of the galaxy, and you got them to fuck off to the opposite side of the Star Wars galaxy, they could make this trip in about a week and a half.
Yes, that's what he's saying.
Now-
They're much faster ships.
Now, hang on. Now, given the... So, like, the Star Wars galaxy is about the same kind of size as the Milky Way galaxy, give or take. You could literally have the entire Imperial fleet start at the wrong end of the Star Wars galaxy, and they would still be able to hit fucking Earth before the Imperial man really has time to figure out what the fuck just happened. What just happened being the fact that a new universe just came in next door. Now, you destroy the seat of power for an entire military fucking government, namely their capital. Suddenly, all that organization goes out the fucking window because you've created a power vacuum.
Right. In M31, the problem is that the seat of power wasn't Earth. It was the Emperor himself, and the Emperor himself was really actually on Earth itself. It was flitting about the galaxy into military campaigns. You have to target the Imperial. You have to target the main fleet of the Imperial man.
Hold on. That would require the Empire to know, like, to be able to map. They'd have to map out this new galaxy, which I don't think they do without bumping into, like, at least some sort of Imperium presence.
They don't have to, given the Empire at this time was already trying to sector out the uncharted space beyond the Outer Rim on all fronts of the galaxy with mass range probes. Unfortunately, most of the uncharted space is out of range of said probes because they're literally 2 galaxies away to the nearest fucking bit of civilization in uncharted space.
Yeah.
This is the reason why I don't like Episode 9, but fucking...
Like I say, I'm granting the fact that the Imperial Navy is faster as the fastest naval force.
Yeah, he's also ignoring the fact that the Death Star has hyperspeed travel as well, just like any other Star Destroyer would, which I know is fucking batshit, but hey, it's funny.
No, he said that. He fact that in. He literally moved the fleet. That's right.
Still, if he was fully factoring it in, he'd understand just how fucked the Imperial man would be. Like the Death Star can literally travel at the same speed as a Star Destroyer, so it can just planet hop and blow up the fucking the planets.
Yes, it's as we said. You can get some tactical victories, take out a few planets. Granted, I'm granting all that.
It would literally wipe out the front half of the galaxy before the Imperial man had a chance to fucking factor up and get ready for a counter assault.
No, because like say,
yes,
they arrive in Sector. Right, even meeting the Sector fleet at the time of Imperial Man, they might lose that sector, right? And you might take out the thing, but the amount of damage that one Sector fleet would actually do to the Imperial Navy before you actually take it out would be catastrophic by comparison.
Yes, like I said, long term, the Imperial man has this in the bag. Short term, however, half the fucking Milky Way galaxy would disappear.
I wouldn't say half, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Literally in a matter of a couple of months, right up to where the third eagle beyond the Imperial man's borders currently are on the screen, all of that would be fucking gone in a matter of 2 months. Free at a push.
No, not even close. Oh, that's all planetized.
Yeah.
That means factoring you. That means your Star Destroyer, your Death Star, is marking 500-700 planets per day.
Very doable.
It's not.
Again, it can hop from one end of the Milky Way to the other in a couple of weeks. It takes 30 seconds to charge a shot, and at worst, and this is assuming you parked it like a dipshit, 15 minutes to line up the shot. It's very doable.
Yes, but then though, as you're trying to line up that shot, you're getting inflicted by naval forces, which are just tearing apart your escort fleet to ribbons.
Yeah, naval forces that, again, are slower and would take longer to even get to said system than you do. By time said fucking fleet got there, you've already destroyed the planet and moved on to the next system. As I said, long term, the Imperial man does win this. Short term, they do get ass raped in terms of resources.
Not what you're thinking.
Yeah.
No, because it would take
very easily.
I think one move over, right? Launched in, and it happens to encounter one fleet, right? One sector fleet. Right?
Yes.
That's half your pure navy ripped apart before you take out that
Correct.
fleet.
Correct.
Right? Then you get, if you found out a few more times, skip past it, and you land another one with even again another sector fleet. That's the rest of your escort ships gone, and your Star Destroyer now in pieces.
Correct.
Right? That's in the space of a couple months.
But again, the odds of a single sector fleet of the size that we're doing math around here for this video essay getting there in time is unfucking likely. One getting there in time to stop the first few months of campaign is unfucking likely. 2 or 3, damn near undoable.
No, I wouldn't say damn near durable.
Yeah.
It's basically the same as your Death Star encountering no resistance whatsoever while entering any system.
I'm not saying it'll get no resistance. I'm saying it's not going to bump into any significant military resistance for the first couple of months.
Yeah, it's not going to take out that many because you still got to fight off the ships attacking you.
Yeah, which for the most part are going to be militia ships and/or civilian ships. Which
no, there'll still be planetary military vessels which aren't as big as, like, say, the Imperial's Astradi, but still the 40k ships, so it still gives them quite significant firepower.
Nah,
You're looking at probably about power. They will take like 2 ships per Star Destroyer to take out a Star Destroyer, but you're still looking at quite significant power vacuum in between.
Yeah, it's the problem there though, right? Is it's 2 ships per Star Destroyer. However, we've already seen battles in Star Wars canon where you have 2-to-1 like ship battles where
I get to go eat dinner.
The 1 Star Destroyer, and said 2-to-1 army is still outnumbered. Like they would be in the scenario, and the Empire.
Back after you dinner.
Understandable. You can just go. It's fine. You have to tell us. You can just put a message in the Discord, and we'll notice.
All right.
As I said, there's plenty of occasions in the Star Wars canon where precisely that has occurred, and the Empire's still fucking done it.
Yeah,
quite.
And that's plenty of cases where a single X-wing has blew out the entire bridge, thus they're crippling the ship to dust.
Correct.
But
again, the problem there though is you have, a resistance force doing that who's been fighting that war for a few years, so has probably figured that out by now, versus brand new enemy that's never encountered this before. Like an example of experienced fight. Yeah, you can't take the results of that fight and go, oh, well, that's exactly how that would go, because, again, one is experienced combat, the other is new enemy type versus new enemy type.
Yes. But you're discounting the experience of the Imperial Navy, which has had thousands upon thousands of years as a main military force.
Correct, but none of those thousands of years have been up against the Galactic Empire or its technology or its designs.
And the Empire's doing the same.
But
They're fighting in
but it's still basically starting at 0.
And the Empire's doing the same.
Correct. However, the Galactic Empire is also coming in at 0, but with the experience of having blown up a planet already, and knowing that tech works.
So has the Imperial Navy. So that the Empire might have glassed over thousands of planets.
Who again are fucking slower.
So
it would again take several months for them to intercept the Galactic Empire.
Well, no, because it's slow, right? It might take a week for the Imperium to travel across the galaxy. It takes Imperium Man about, I think, about a month in warp travel. Yes, it's slower, but it's not that much slower. Where you get free reign for 3 months, nuclear 700 planets per day.
Very easily, it can be done. Yes.
All they have to do is predict where you're going to land in about a week's time, and dump their forces there. You land in a system, and now you're facing half the Imperial Navy.
Yes, which again
will glass you in less than 5 seconds.
Yes, but it's unlikely to succeed because, again, the Galactic Empire has long-range scans for precisely this fucking purpose of scan that system. Oh, look, they've dumped all their forces there. Right, pump the brakes, turn around, we'll go fuck that system up. Because by the time we get there, they'll have noticed we're going there once we get there. They won't catch up. Oh, look at that. We've done a roundabout for a while. They've got an easy 3-month campaign before they get rinsed.
You're still destroying 700 planets per day.
Fucking easily, I can do it. Yes.
That's the best case scenario of absolutely no problems, or facing no resistance.
No, best case scenario with no problems, no resistance, I can wipe out easily 2,000 planets in a single fucking day. I'm doing the math based upon the simple basis of there's a little bit of resistance in the way with some semi-competent fucking pilots behind it with some fairly on-par tech. As I said, long term, I do agree the Imperium Man will win, but they will take immense casualty and resource loss in the first few months. Because it will take at least 3 months for them to actually catch up with the fleet and begin the pushback. Once they begin said pushback, yeah, the Galactic Empire is fucked.
I think one sector fleet is enough to take out the Star Destroyer easily.
Yeah, a Star Destroyer, not the entire Galactic.
Not Star Destroyer, the fucking Death Star.
Yeah,
if you put a main capital battle barrage against the Death Star's crap. Before you can get started.
No, because again, we're all also again ignoring one very important part of the Star Wars lore in terms of how its technology works.
Mm-hmm.
Deflector shields are pretty much fucking immune when it comes to blunt force impacts, with the exception of civilian craft. A majority of the Imperial Navy isn't built of civilian level craft. They have military grade deflector shields which can take impacts from blunt objects. That's why most military craft don't have blunt instrument fucking weaponry.
Yes.
Because they're pretty much pointless.
Yes, but also we also know that a asteroid can take out a ship. A very small asteroid can take out a Star Destroyer.
Correct, because an asteroid is considerably fucking larger than a slag round.
Yes, but the Imperial Navy main cannon rounds are essentially very large. Essentially, have the same kind of impact as a very large asteroid.
Yes, again, the problem is though the way the deflector shields work in Star Wars canon, it has nothing to do with the kinetic impact. It's got to do with the size of the projectile.
Well, no, because even that kind of impact alone would stress it.
Not, it's enough to stress it, but not enough to punch through it.
Yeah, right, one shot maybe, but 30, 50 shots. That's enough to rip apart any shielding, no matter how powerful it is.
Again, based upon the previously established rules of how we have to do this math, no.
Galaxy probably taking place in addition to a couple of more 100 years after that. The reason I give them this much time is because they can jump quicker out of systems when the enemy shows up. But most Imperial worlds with any strategic or tactical value are going to be so heavily defended that the Galactic Empire would be perpetually bogged down by planetary defenses and delaying actions to hold them in place until any reinforcements could arrive. This is going to cause significant damage and attrition to any Galactic Empire fleet, not to mention what would happen if, say, a light cruiser barreled straight through their formation and detonated its warp engines, sucking a not insignificant portion of their strength into the Immaterium without any Geller fields.
No. Wait.
Even in M41, the Galactic Empire is going to have an extremely rough time at offensive action against the Imperium of Man. Not only is the Empire going to have an extremely difficult time gaining intel at any speed faster than the Imperium of Man, because of the fractious nature of the Imperium at this time in M41, and because the Imperium of Man is going to use Psychers on any captured hostile. And, well, Psychers aren't exactly a big commodity in the Star Wars galaxy. Any initial contact is going to be met with extreme hostility from any Imperial fleet it encounters in Imperium Nihilus when they enter the Milky Way galaxy. To add to this, the Empire's ships will be unlikely to assail any world inside the Maelstrom, likely having to bypass it entirely once they scout the edges, losing a not inconsiderable amount of their scout ships and light ships. Not to mention that sector fleets during this period are on constant patrol, so tracking their movement and planning attacks will be of little logistical concern for the Imperium of Man. And depending on the initial scale of the Empire's incursion and how quickly word reaches Terra, the Imperium may simply bypass its traditional escalation policy and declare a full crusade to strip the GC of its resources. Also, Astartes chapters are far more widespread during this age, and the Galactic Empire is more likely to run afoul of a chapter fleet than in M31. In M41, depending on those factors, I see the Galactic Empire sputtering out due to rampant losses of their fleet resources, And the sight of Macragge's honor ramming clean through their executor-class ship might also bring a swift end to any Empire hostility. And in M41, the Death Star is not even going to pose any real threat or be even considered a danger to the Imperium of Man. The Imperium of Man was getting ready to firebreak a good portion of the galaxy just to stop the Tyranids. And due to the scope and size of their empire, they lose hundreds and gain hundreds of planets per year. A few destroyed by the Death Star probably won't even register. And unless somehow they manage to tank a Forge world or a Chapter homeworld, in which case the Empire will learn what terror is when Thunderhawks and boarding torpedoes perforate the crap out of their hull and proceed to slaughter everyone inside. It's going to take substantially longer, probably in the realm of 4 to 5 centuries, but I do believe that the Imperium of Man is going to generally overwhelm the Galactic Empire, drive them into compliance, and scrub their galaxy clean of life. This, of course, is not an exhaustive breakdown of the battles. If you want to see how it would break down the battles, say, per battle on a galactic map, moving pieces around, let me know in the comments. But I do believe that's going to be all of the autism you can handle this week. I would have liked to have gotten this out quicker, but my oldest daughter came to visit. It's important to spend what little time you have on Earth with those we love.
Yeah, autism is definitely a fucking word for that. This entire conversation.
I liked it because it made you mad.
This thing, I'm not mad. I'm just incredibly disappointed.
Listen, I'm like the normie fan of both of those universes. So listening to you guys nerd out about it and argue over it was pretty fun.
This thing, I am by no means an expert when it comes to either fucking like groups of lore.
You can't tell me that from the top of the stairs. You have to come all the way down.
You know, like I can at least fucking Google.
I'm right back.
I can read and retain basic fucking information.
The law on both sides of this.
I'm by no means an expert. Know enough about both lures to make a fucking, a semi-competent fucking guess of. Yes, the Imperial Man will win in the long term. In the short term, they will take mass casualty and massive loss of resource. They will win in the end, but they'll fucking feel it. Man got the right answer, but he did so by doing his math upside down and ass backward. And that's what disappoints me. The difference between me and that guy is I'm making an educated guess. He's making a guess.
Can we watch the Alpha Legion infiltrates the Galactic Empire, please?
No.
That looks funny. Please.
No, because it's probably copyrighted to fuck.
Ah.
I don't really care which one we pick for copyright material wise. Like the Dig Tactics one we probably could get away with.
Probably, but it's a 50-50 and.
No, we could.
I used to love watching that, dude.
We looked at a couple of Dig Tactics videos before. It's just that the problem I've got with Dig Tactics as a medium, I don't think it accurately represent the actual firepower of each side properly.
Yeah, it's not an. But like most of the simulation games it uses in general aren't the most accurate things.
Yeah.
They're fun games, but they're not the most accurate simulation systems. But then, to me, I argue there isn't a simulation currently civilianly available that could accurately fucking predict the battle.
No, because I think you got to compare like the idea of a bolter, which essentially firing explosive coke cans at you.
Yes.
Yeah.
At like a half light speed versus the blaster round. It's
which is firing superheated plasma at just shy of light speed, but
yeah. I mean, it makes it interesting mathematically wise, but don't think a off-the-shelf video game could replicate that kind of information enough.
Yeah. As is like theoretically, with a bit of tweaking, you could get it close enough, but
yeah. I mean, if you just go and use they're the Kriegsmarines. And that was seen like for the bomber versus zombies.
Yes.
Fair enough. That's fair enough. 'Cause their weaponry is again, it's basically a 50 caliber rifle, essentially. And they put that against a Star Wars standardized unit. Then maybe you get a close simulation outcome.
Get close-ish.
But again, what he's doing is like 5 million versus 5 million.
Yeah.
You know, which isn't realistically how they would field their forces. Because 5 million is pretty much all of.
Can we watch the? Can we watch the Warhammer versus Star Trek?
How is that?
Is it by the same guy?
It is, yes.
Yes.
No, we're not.
I don't know actually.
No, I'm mad and I'm disappointed enough at one person.
No, it's this is a different guy. Galactic Battle crossover film, Star Wars versus Star Trek, Halo, Mass Effect. Apparently.
Halo's got that in the bag.
Halo's got nowhere near that in the bag.
Yeah, Halo's not got a fucking shot.
Star Trek would tank Halo in an instant.
Game
All
of
right, then I think Mass Effect would win.
Mass Effect has the fucking advantage over Halo, and it might fucking Star Trek.
Even Star Wars versus Mass Effect, Star Trek versus Mass Effect, it's a 50-50 in that one.
No, I'd give it to Star Trek all day, every day.
No, in short-term speed, Star Trek has the advantage, yes. You got to remember...
Even firepower, Star Trek has the fucking advantage.
Yeah, it depends on which ship you're on about. If you can make all ships the same as the Galaxy class against the average ship, maybe. But if you're moving on to like the Dreadnought class ships, then no hope in hell's chances the Enterprise is going to survive around from that.
See, I'm doing the math the same way fucking the previous guy did, of fleet comp v fleet comp. Like, Star Trek takes that all day, every day.
Hang on. Right, if you're going off the fleet, if you're just using like the Citadel fleet versus the Federation fleet.
Yes.
Right, Citadel has a larger fleet by a factor of 7.
Correct, but it has weaker technology and weaker firepower.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
If you class just off like the capital ships alone, right? There's enough firepower from the main cannon of the capital ship that would just tear right through the Enterprise, no problem, no question asked.
Correct, but the Citadel fleet doesn't have anywhere near enough capital ships to fucking do that battle.
Oh, it does. It has way more capital ships than these.
It really doesn't.
You're talking the Federation can field at most in one battle for a fleet at best 300 ships. And most of those are 100-year-old Mirandas.
Yes.
Right? The Citadel fleet alone has 200 capital class ships.
Yes.
From Saris, which has some massive ancient battleships, to the Garrus species, who's a military ship who has the biggest
I forget what they're called. It's no, the Quarians are the gas maskers.
No, Taurian, not Quarian.
Oh, I heard Quarian.
No, Taurian.
Yeah, Turian fleet.
Yeah, Taurian.
Yeah, they have the biggest fleet of any of the ships in existence currently.
Yeah, all I'm saying, right? Size of the fleet that was deployed at the Battle of the Citadel in Mass Effect 1, considerably fucking smaller than pretty much any fleet seen in canon Star Trek material.
No, the Battle of the
I don't care how many fucking ships it says in the lore books they deployed. Pull up the screen and fucking count the bastards. There's maybe 40 at a push.
The biggest fleet that the Federation ever fielded was the Battle for DS9. Right? During the Dominion War. And that was 249 ships. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And only 3 of those, and only 10 were Dreadnought class, which was basically stripped down Galaxy class ships.
Yes.
Right? In the Battle of the Citadel, right, the Earth fleet alone, which moved into the combat range,
Mm-hmm.
was 395 ships, and 57 of those were Dreadnought class ships, which dwarfed the Galaxy class by a factor of 6.
Correct, but again, you know, what you can say, like, yeah, a capital ship can tear through like any Star Trek ship. Yeah, a Star Trek ship can also tear through a Mass Effect ship. Like, I'm sorry, but a photon torpedo is tearing through that motherfucker.
Yes, what
Frankly, a phaser is gonna tear through that motherfucker.
No, because they
Yeah.
have blade of armor, and they have the kinetic shielding on a Mass Effect ship. Because theoretically, a phaser does contain physical particles and heat.
Mm-hmm.
Although the heat would get through, but then the blade of armor takes effect, the kinetic shielding would deflect the physical impact of the particles away from the ship itself.
Yeah, all I'm saying, right, the fucking cannons on Reaper ships work damn near the same goddamn way. The only difference is a Reaper ship's got a bigger fucking cannon.
No, the Thanax
Yeah.
cannon on a Reaper ship is technically a kinetic weapon.
It's a kinetic heat weapon, because that big fucking orange beam of piss is definitely plasmatic.
No, that big orange piece of shit is
Yeah.
actually a melted composite of tungsten and uranium held in a Mass Effect field, then a mass dampening field, and launched.
I sincerely disagree, because that is not what that would look like.
That's the description of the weapon. That's what it is.
Again, their lore description might say that, but the firepower being put out on screen does not agree.
Yeah, it actually gives you in the tech section, especially the second game. Actually, it gives you the full breakdown of how the Reaper ships actually work.
No, it definitely couldn't have given you that in the second game, given the
You're making
entire
me want to
plot of the
replay.
second
You're
game.
making
Shut
me
up.
want to replay Mass Effect now.
That lore definitely cannot be given out in Mass Effect 2, given the entire fucking plot of Mass Effect 2 is what the fuck is a Reaper.
No, it does.
The ending of the game is you figuring out what the Reapers are and what their tech roughly is. So that definitely wasn't Mass Effect 2 lore.
No, because it gives you the breakdown
That was
in
Mass
the
Effect
description
3.
of the Thanax cannon, which is based on Reaper tech, which is the upgrade weapon normally gets.
Yeah, very loosely based on roughly Reaper tech.
And it gives you a description of how Reaper tech actually worked.
No, it gives you a description of what the example of Reaper tech they found works. That's an example of all fucking Reaper tech. That's an example of one Reaper ship they found.
Which is technically the largest Reaper ship in existence, but next to Harbinger.
Yeah, but by that logic, right? All Star Wars tech would work the exact same way as the fucking Death Star. And they don't. Like, just because they found one ship that works that way doesn't mean they all fucking work that way. This is another reason why I'm giving extra points to Mass Effect losing, because Mass Effect's lore is just fucking poorly written. At least when it comes around, like, how the tech works.
No, the tech works actually fairly well written, to be honest.
What's your favorite quote from Mass Effect?
Again, they found one fucking Reaper ship, figured out how it worked, and assumed all Reaper ships work the same way, and somehow that's correct. That's just not how fucking tech logistics works.
Sorry, it is, because you take any random Federation ship, right? Fair enough, in scale of technological advancements, it's the same, but the basic concept of all ships is the same. An antimatter warp core powers the ship for most of its energy needs. It uses direct plasma jets for impulse engines, and the weapons based on particleized phaser beams, which have photon peels later on, which are essentially just coated very yield torpedo shells.
Correct, but you'll also know from the Star Trek lore that not every ship was repping that exact firepower capability. There were plenty of ships that were customized out by slightly insane captains to have way more interesting shit. Yes. Not every weapon in Star Trek works exactly the way a phaser cannon does.
Yes, I mean, bear in mind that Fine Class use quad phasers, which technically is a mix of phaser rounds and torpedo shells mixed into one shot.
Exactly.
You know,
Like
So
that's
I'm-
exactly my point. Like
I'm granting you that point of view, but you got to remember the Reaper race in Mass Effect is essentially a sentient machine race. You know, which generally has the
So it's like the Necrons.
yes, actually very close to Necrons. To be honest, low wise, actually you're not far off yet.
yeah,
Yeah.
like they're basically the Necrons with extra steps. In fact, technically Necrons with slightly less steps if you really want to get pedantic, but
Oh yeah, because Necrons is technically
I was thinking, like, I think it's like with less steps because Necrons have a lot. Necrons are a lot more sophisticated than what I feel the Reapers are.
well,
I'm more making the sense that like when like Necrons subjugate another race, they turn them into more Necrons, whereas when the Reapers subjugate a race, they allow them to still be kind of that race, but they modify them to be more in line with what the Reapers are.
Actually, the Necrons don't really subjugate other races. They just kind of kill them.
no, they do.
No, they like after they kill them, they turn them into more Necrons. Like theoretically, the Necrons are the Borg with extra steps.
Yeah, Necrons essentially is a soul variant housed inside liquid living metal.
Yeah.
It's where it generally works. If you go for the law of Necrons is a outer god tear and say, look, I've got a way of surviving this fight. Basically rip the souls out of the body and rammed in living metal. I said, there you go. And then they've realized, oh, we fucked up. Reapers are basically a one Reaper ship. Like when the main capital ship, which is like the 5-kilometer long ones, is essentially all the genetic material harvested from a single species with their knowledge crammed inside of it. As sort of like a sort of semi organic living metal ship in theoretical terms. That's what Reapers is like. For every race harvested, you get one capital Reaper ship out of it. Type thing. Everyone's gone quiet.
That's because I'm trying to inhale a cigarette. It wasn't going my way. The smoke did not want to go down. I was kind of fighting it to go down there. It was what you just kind of sit in my mouth like a cigar smoke. I was like, no, go down a bit. No, fuck, get in my lungs, you fuck. Breathe.
Give me nicotine.
You know, my body was being a bitch for a second. It was very fun. It probably has something to do with the fact the only thing I've eaten today is half a sausage and an ice cream. Like,
Oh, yeah, you sucked on that half sausage, didn't you?
all right, I like because like we had a barbecue yesterday and there was like just a sausage left from the like barbecue, so I chewed on half of it. Went, oh, that's coarse and rough. I don't like this, and gave the other half to the dog. And then I then had a salted caramel ice cream cone for my lunch because I had one left in the freezer, so I had it for my lunch.
So, yeah, I mean, if you go to Federation versus Mass Effect, like the Citadel fleet, let's say. So the combined like of the Asari, Turian, the lizard twat,
Yes.
and humans, the main Citadel council races. Then I'd say Mass Effect technically takes it.
Again, I'd sincerely disagree with it.
I think Mass Effect has it.
I won't say there's going to be like heavy casualties, but I think 3 versus 3, I think Mass Effect would take it, just.
Again, I sincerely disagree.
Actually, is Commander Shepard on the field?
Even with I'll be honest, even with Commander Shepard and the Normandy in the field, I still disagree to Mass Effect winning that fight.
The Normandy's
Speaking of Mass Effect,
the Normandy's not that powerful a ship in that universe.
It's really not.
It's not, no.
Its only abilities it has technically has a stealth drive, and it's kind of nippy. That's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's about.
It looks cool. It looks cool though.
Oh, it looks cool, but it's a frigate. You know, even like the Normandy SR2, it's still just a frigate.
It's about on par with the Defiant, realistically.
No, I said the Defiant technically has more firepower.
Yeah, I
Because-
can't give you firepower wise, but
Size wise, yes, but firepower wise, the Defiant takes it because the Defiant's built for a combat where it normally is theoretically a scout vessel. It only has one offensive weapon. That's the Thanax cannon at the front.
to be fair, the Defiant class of ship was built more as a recon vessel.
No, it was built as an escort, technically combat escort.
No, it was originally designed to just be like a stealth recon vessel. It was only the actual Defiant, which was a Defiant class named the Defiant because fuck me, that's why it was captained by Cisco that was actually properly set up to be a combat vessel.
No,
Because
Cisco's
Cisco was fucking nuts.
No, Cisco's was set up as a scout vessel with the Romulan cloaking device. The later
No,
version of the Defiant class was meant to be as a combat-only vessel.
No, every Defiant class was given the cloaking stack.
Because it was designed to be a main weapon against the Borg, actually.
Now, every Defiant class did have the cloaking shield, cloaking device. There's the word I wanted.
Scotty, I've got a question for you.
Go for it.
What is your favorite quote from Mass Effect?
I don't have one.
Neither do I, really.
I have one.
But
Hold on.
In fairness,
I've got a.
Echo. In fairness, you also have a fucking favorite fucking pterodactyl. So like,
If your plan to invade a planet involves strapping a gun to your kid's school bus, maybe it's a bad plan. That is my favorite Mass Effect quote.
I can't even tell you when it was said or in which game it was said.
Mass Effect 2, halfway
It
through.
was
That one.
it was Mass Effect 3 because it was because the Quarrens and the Geth were fighting each other, and the Geth were just kind of not the Geth. The Quarren were throwing everything they had, like every ship they could field, like even if it was a civilian ship, was yeeted at this planet. And it was Joker who said that.
Sounds like a draw quote.
Yeah.
This is more evidence to support my claim that Mass Effect is one of the game series of all time.
There's some good games. Fuck off.
They're fun gameplay wise, but they're incredibly forgettable games in terms of what the fuck was going on.
I mean, most
Because let's
Scrabble.
be fair, the writing was mid for most of it.
I'm gonna.
Writing wise, those games were solid 5, maybe 6 out of 10s.
No.
But they had alien tits, so. Eh.
Again, you have a fucking like an anthropomorphic pterodactyl you'd like to have sex with, so your opinion means nothing to me in that department.
Why? Hold on. Why have you kept that? Why have you kept that small nugget of information like tucked away in your brain?
Because it's not a small nugget of information, Echo. You spent 6 consecutive months talking about nothing but the fuckable pterodactyl.
I did not. It was like maybe a month at most.
It was 6 straight months of every.
It was not. I played that game back in December. It's only May.
Like
Which game are you about here now?
Solid. Like you still.
What game am I talking about?
Still post images of that fucking pterodactyl from Snoot game.
Snoot.
Yes, the Snoot game.
We get it. You're a furry. You want to have sex with the animals. Get a new hobby. pick other things to have built around your personality.
Well, technically, he's a traitor against furries. He's trying to strike a scaly, but nothing is there.
No, I'm not part of that turf war between the furries and the scalies. I like both.
No one's part of that turf war.
Yeah, actually, no. There are still some very like zealous holdouts.
they're holdout groups. It doesn't count. The war is over. It's been over for decades.
And the battlefield littered with fur corpses and skin scales.
Yeah, by your logic, World War II wasn't over till after they found and persuaded that one Japanese soldier that was stuck on an uninhabited island.
Still love that story.
The guns fell silent. The guns fell silent many, many moons ago.
Exactly. The war had been over for about 40 fucking years by the time they found that bastard.
You know, that's just back to,
because he couldn't let it go.
You know, that takes me back to the conversation me and you had last year on which medieval weapon would be best against the furry war.
A flamethrower.
Medieval weapon.
That's not a medieval weapon.
I thought you said any weapon. I immediately flamethrower. Fur is very flammable.
No, medieval. I think we settled on was the Claymore and the Flambeau.
I mean, if you want to bring siege equipment into the fucking equation, then like oil lamps easily.
Oh yeah, oil lamp ballistas would be very effective.
Nah, ballistas you only take like one to 5 targets at most per shot. Like realistically, you want something with a bit more pizzazz there, you know.
You've got ridiculousness. You got technically got the Da Vinci's tank.
Yeah, but that A isn't medieval and B isn't real, so you know.
No, 13th century technically is medieval.
No, it's the Renaissance, and he doodled it. He didn't build it, so it's not real.
He doodled it out of boredom.
Oh no, it's technically commissioned by the Chancellor of Florence at the time.
Yeah, so he doodled it because he was bored. He was bored and rent was due. That's why he fucking doodled it. He never built the fucking thing. I'm still mad at Assassin's Creed Brotherhood for making people think it was a real fucking weapon.
No, it wasn't. Probably the actual weapon he did build was a pipe cannon, the organ cannon, which never featured in any of the games.
Yeah, because it was deemed to be too unrealistic to be believable.
Yeah, it actually existed.
Yeah, even though it was a real fucking thing and kinda worked.
Yeah.
Didn't work well, but it worked-ish.
The problem is what's worse about it, though, we have historical proof of the damn thing actually existing. They're in museums. Yet it was too unrealistic for the game's concept of like, oh, we strapped 6 cannons together on a rotating box that span around to fire more cannons.
Yeah.
That's not believable. Because like the very first Gatling gun design was, I think it was 9 muskets strapped to a barrel that rotated around.
Yeah, and even that didn't work.
And that.
Well, no, I tell you, like, that worked for 9-hole shots.
Yes. It was a whiskey barrel with 9 muskets strapped to it, and the guy just turned it to fire each shotgun around it.
Yeah. Like I said, it worked for 9 shots. Then it was fucking worthless for a half hour. Again, you're laughing because you think I'm using hyperbole. I'm not.
No, he's not. Because the muskets are so hot, so I've fired the fucking barrel.
Yeah.
During another 10 years for technically the first Gatling gun came out. That was only after Winchester made the repeating rifle.
Anyway, it's midnight now.
It is, yes.
It's midnight, and
Are you guys getting off?
I'd very much like some food. So, Fat Man T, be a good fanboy owner and get in that kitchen. Make me a sandwich.
You can get fucked.
Come on, you need to feed and water your fanboy.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
It's self-sufficient to this
I'm
point.
sorry. We ended it there then.
Like that does it. I'm calling the SSPCF.
Go ahead.
The Scottish Society for Protection Against Cruelty to Fanboys.
I've got enough armor to keep them at bay for a while. What's the bloody two?
Jokes on you. All they'll do is they'll just airdrop me a care package.
I've got Alfie here. I haven't taken it off you.
You and I both know I would happily drop kick that dog for a Klondike bar.
And you also know that dog's beat the shit out of you several times already.
Exactly. That just gives me more fucking reason to drop kick it over the pond that far.
At this point, I don't know how fight between you two is a 50-50 shot of who wins it.
No, I win because I don't actually fight the dog. I play fight the dog.
Anyway, folks, that's probably going to be the end of the show for tonight. You know, may the force be with you and everything else. Good night. Good luck.
Thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you all.
Have a good one, y'all.